Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Arrow Heiskanen to Robertson. Settles to his left. Shot blocked again. He scores! Now the whole bottom bowl is standing. Robertson may have lifted everybody in Dallas to their feet as the Stars take the lead.
McDavid will skate off the remaining time, and the Oilers have advanced to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs with a 4-3 victory in Game 5. Edmonton closes out the LA Kings.
George driving, tried to pass to Westbrook, deflected away, pushed away by Kyrie, chased it to the front court, but Luka couldn't come up with it. He gets knocked down hard by Russell Westbrook. He's still down hard as Derek Jones Jr. comes flying in and slams it home.
In a 5-game series, they eliminate the Miami Heat, and the Boston Celtics are the first team on to round 2 in the Eastern Conference. The final score, Boston 118, Miami 84. The Celtics win the series 4-1.
Here it comes. And Andy swings and he hits one high in the air. Deep left center field. Gone. A home run. Floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee. Andy Pages makes it 2-0 Dodgers.
Here comes his 107th pitch. Swing and a miss! Jackson Brockett, write your name in the record books. Nebraska's first individual no-hitter since 1954.
What an incredible outing for Jackson Brockett. Soak it all up, folks.
That 8-hour and 28-minute montage was brought to you by one Shane Schillerberg. He wanted to get all of his 2 minutes. Nobody does 2 minutes like Shane Schillerberg when it comes to an open. That was fantastic. As we welcome you in, you are looking live.
Oh, come on, Shane.
To the Pillar Exterior Studios, Hurrdat Sports Radio. I get my buddy back for however many days this is in a row, maybe 90 or like 107, but I'm just glad he keeps showing up. Ravi Lulla.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing?
I'm good.
You know the only reason I did that?
Why?
Number one, because I like to hear myself talk.
What's happening? I mean, if we didn't doing this job would not make a lot of sense.
But I noticed you were kind of getting it together, so I wanted you to be able to like get a couple extra minutes, because I feel like I put unnecessary pressure on you to get the TVs right. So I feel like when you come in here and if you're scrambling trying to get the pad, I feel responsible. That's I'm like, okay, this dude's really trying to look out. He asks me every day when I want the channels on. We're a little behind schedule. I got to buy my man some time. You see, that's where that came from.
I appreciate that.
Well,
it is true.
Because I hate how these two are on the same channel.
Yeah, no, it is true that the only reason I do this is because I know you care about it.
It's weird, isn't it?
Because I don't care at all.
When I started again. You don't realize how traumatized I was at the nonsense that was this studio. I'm like, okay.
What do you mean?
No TVs on.
What do you mean?
The shades are screwed up. It's haphazard back here. I'm like, I'm gone for 5 months, and it's total anarchy.
That's because me and A-Raj would just kind of roll in here and do whatever.
No, it cannot. Listen. If you've ever been in love, which I clearly have, maybe not, it's about ambiance. You have to set the stage.
It's about the vibe.
Yes. How are you going to talk sports with no sports on television?
If I was a Husker fan, I'd just be coming hoping that the ball's not on the ground.
I mean, I don't know. I probably just follow the rundown that we don't pay attention to every day.
So I think we should make a game out of this. I was thinking about
how many things we actually get to.
No, I'm dead dog serious.
Okay.
This is how my dumb mind works. I was in the shower the other day, and I'm like, I can't remember. This is probably Monday, and I'm like, I'm competitive. I gamify just about anything, right? I'm like, you know what? How many days in a row do you think we can get the lineup out? or not have you ask me, did you tweet what's the term you did I tweet
did you retweet the stream?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I'm like, I want to get the lineup out in the first segment, and I want to retweet.
There we go.
That I almost said treat. We treat like Treat Williams. You remember as an actor?
I do not remember Treat Williams.
Shay,
I remember
did you watch
Cat
any?
Williams.
Did you
He's a
watch
little
any
strange.
blaxploitation movies? You know, like
Be careful with your answer there, bud.
you know, like I'm gonna get you, sucker, or Shaft, or
I have not seen any
none. All right, well,
those for a
well,
long time.
Google Treat Williams. But anyway,
And that's totally on
You
me.
see how out of his way he went not to say the word blaxploitation.
I
have not
we've been
seen
listen,
any
selfish.
of those movies.
20. Yeah, I always love the old demonstrative, right? It's 2024, Shane. It's like you can say anything once, and we're gonna lead the way in not being sensitive when people say the quiet part out loud.
That's fine.
Thank you. I thought to myself,
Unless you're being a dill hole to kids like Deion Sanders,
Oh,
and then
200 days in a row we get a Deion Sanders reference. No,
I know Treat Williams. He died, didn't he? Yeah, he just died last year.
Yeah.
He was in he was in a couple of movies.
yeah, Treat Williams.
Okay.
So anyway, I just
I'm gonna
pulled
be
it.
honest. Can I be
Yeah,
can I be real here for a second?
100%.
I was not expecting Treat Williams to be a white man. Just the name Treat Williams, I was like, that's a brother.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know, but I got the TV changed.
What is wrong with you?
I know an actor by the name of Trent Williams.
I know
he
left
acts like
tackle.
he acts like a really good Hall of Famer because he is. That would be Trent. Do you know what Ravi asked me yesterday, Shane? It would have totally made you uncomfortable. Ravi goes, "Hey, can I tell this story?"
Yeah, I don't care. I don't even know what story you're gonna tell, but go for it.
By the way, I was in the shower and I wanted this gamification. How many days in a row could we go without you asking me that and get the lineup out in the first segment? And we couldn't make it one
It
day.
was 0 days.
0
days.
So I'm gonna get back on that because I need something to get me going.
Okay.
So this is Ravi yesterday during the break, Shane. And I panicked because that's when Avery was like, I think Shane's mic's on.
Oh, yeah.
And I was gonna run down there and choke Shane. Ravi goes, "Hey, can I ask you kind of a pause, sigh, awkward silence. Can I ask you kind of a black people question?" I said, "Oh Lord, here we go." Yeah, sure. What's up? So my wife tells me sometimes when she's doing big events.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of minorities. So you mean black people? She said, "Yeah, she's always telling me that we kind of have to make the steaks a little more well done."
Yeah, cook them a little longer.
Yeah. I almost fell out of my chair. And I go, "Yeah, that's a thing. I don't know why that's a thing, but I fight about this at the barbershop. I almost, my barber will tell you this. I almost, when I got kicked, the only time I've been kicked out of that place.
Yeah.
He didn't really kick me out. He just was like, "Hey man, after 20 years, because this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. It's probably about after like 25 years. If you want to find something else different to do, you're replaceable." Hey, and it cut me to the core, right? It just cut me to the core. It was over steak.
Really?
Because I said, "How can you get such a good piece of meat and have that thing doo-doo brown?" And it was like you would have thought he might have been on something else that day. I don't know, but this turned into like a 30-minute fight in the barbershop over why we can't just eat a steak medium. And by we, I mean me. And
I mean, honestly,
but I wanted you to know, I empowered you to. That is totally a thing.
And honestly, for me, medium's even a little aggressive on the cooking.
Yeah, I was mad at 136 the other day.
Yeah,
I wanted 132.
You let it rest too long.
Well,
or you pull it late.
So it was still when I pulled it at. I pulled it at 28.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, 4 or 5 degrees max.
Yeah, on a rest that should be about right.
Man, that joker. I shouldn't have put the foil on it.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't gonna cry because it was a tremendous piece of meat, but I don't know. So Shane, Ravi takes it upon himself. Let's do a little research. And what'd you find out, Ravi? Why typically do African Americans like their steak?
So this is what I found.
well
I don't know
done?
if it's true or not, or I don't know if it still is the reason, but this originally when slavery existed in this country,
And no, we're not talking about repercussions, as you used to say last week.
No, it's reparations.
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 What did you say?
I said repercussions, which
like playing the drums?
No, that's just regular percussion.
My bad.
It's repercussions. I've learned that now, but we also learned a valuable lesson that we have a new name for our company, so it's fine. I learned that often the slaves would not get the highest quality meat given to them, and often it would be spoiled already, so they'd overcook it to try and keep from getting sick.
Right.
And so that's the best I could find as far as a reason.
Which is also where chicken came from, because it was kind of a dirty bird.
So that's the one that was left over.
That was
basically.
the front. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean,
Hurrdat. See,
got it.
We learned something.
Look at us. History.
I'm telling you.
History buffs.
Taj Mahal, 40 acres of mules.
What's that?
Well done meat. Fudge. It's all in there.
There's a lot there.
Oh, you know what I want to talk about?
What's that?
Because we stick to sports.
What's that?
Stop protesting. Get your ass off campus. That's what I want to say. Anyway.
So on the show today, coming up at 8:43,
what do we got?
We've got one Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider.
What do you think, like Bill, Chris, Sasha? Do they hold their breath with every open?
Oh, I have to imagine.
Yeah.
But normally I get a text from one or all of them
that
are like, that was incredible.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, at a certain point, what do we say?
I want like Gorman to text and be like, what was Jason Tatum wearing at the presser last night? Was that like the Rainbow Coalition for Bill Cosby, or like?
I didn't even see it. I got to look it up.
Oh, you're not. See,
I'm not a press conference guy.
What were you busy listening to, Jackson Brockett?
I mean, what
the way,
what
Shane,
time was that on? I think I just went straight to the next game.
You using Grant Hansen is okay, because I like Grant, and he's doing some work for some websites too, and I cheer for him. But anytime, use radio, especially if it's our network, guys.
Can I just say this?
You know, I wanted the great Ben McLaughlin
about
who,
Jason
by the way,
Tatum.
How about how everybody loves Benny Mac? I don't know why nobody uses him.
I don't know. He was great.
Oh, he's fantastic.
That's the first time I've talked to him.
Did Shane tell you what he asked me when I was leaving yesterday outside? He goes, "Hey, he was awesome. Do you want me to make him a regular?" Whoa. Slow down. Slow down.
Meet me at the rim.
I'm gonna use Benny Mac quite a bit.
Donna Summer here. Simmer down now.
But he's baseball, basketball, football. So we don't want to wear him out. He has a real job other than the network, but he is extremely good. What'd you say?
Spot on.
He was like, "Oh, he's kind of funny, and he just keeps it moving." I was like, "Yeah, he's one of those guys that says something funny and doesn't laugh at his own jokes. I need to learn."
He would like make a crack and then just keep rolling.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, would you give me a second to laugh at you being funny?"
So early,
That's inconsiderate.
So early when we first started together, because he's Sharpie spotter, and he and I do the pregame show. So it's 4 hours.
Yeah, that's you spend some time together.
And we're roughly the same age, and he has a little babysitter in him.
Yeah,
because he's kind of OCD.
Oh, okay. So he's like me. He's a little bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
Okay.
But much like you, I give you my phone. Hey, can you set up my email? I give him my computer. Hey, this thing sucks. Can you make it work? Like I'm telling you. Hey, DB, bus is leaving at 1:30. Hey,
he's not.
Take elevator 4. It's the quickest way to the press box. Like, he's that dude.
He kind of sounds like reminds me a little bit of my brother, who's like, "Hey, I know the best way to do this. Just trust me here."
But okay. So does Rav say it? Because Ben doesn't say it. It's his demeanor that makes you think he's got it.
Yeah, it's his delivery where it's like, okay, well, I know you think you know what's best here, but I've got some other things I'm trying to accomplish.
You should see him set up and tear down the studio.
Really?
Oh,
gets after it.
Dude, it's incredible. It's unbelievable. how fast he can get a plain booth ready for a broadcast. I'm like,
it's a challenge.
No, it's really Doc Sadler. I don't even recognize what we're doing. All I do on the way out after games is
I don't even recognize.
I got to feel like I'm contributing somehow, so I just carry one of the rolling things.
I just pick it up and walk right on out.
Listen, no, Damon, you don't have no. I feel like I need to contribute because I don't know Jack.
It's like when my wife's cleaning around the house and I'm like, hey, is there anything I can do? And she knows that I'm going to do it wrong because
selfish.
She's very particular about her cleaning methods, which is fine.
Yeah.
But so I'll be like, hey, is there anything I can do? She's like, no, it's okay. And it's like, I know it's not really okay, but I also don't know what to do because I am not. She came from a military family where it was like very like, hey, we're scrubbing baseboards and we're, making everything's like nice and clean. And I did not come from a military family.
She can help hook up my registers around the house, man. I'm Q-tipping and toothbrushing those things.
The little AC registers.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets after it. I'm like, babe, I promise.
Good on her.
Nobody's ever looked at the baseboards.
Fudge, I do.
Not a single person.
I was mad the other day when our air freshener thing was facing the wall. Somehow it got spun around because somebody must have wiped down the fireplace. And there's like a wet spot from where the moisture was hitting the wall.
Yeah.
Dude, I almost I was, Shane. In life, I figured out after my 89-minute meltdown, give or take a minute.
You're like, that might actually might not matter.
Probably not that big of a deal.
I could probably just wipe this down and be okay.
But can you?
I don't know. I said probably.
Thanks for the encouragement.
That thing went.
That's what I'm here for.
So Matt I'm cool with Grant on the cut.
But Benny Mac needs to get a little run.
Well, it was show karma.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you tell a guy 5 minutes, the day of he's starting, get us what you can. He throws a no. And the voice is on the show.
Yeah.
That's show karma.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
So go Storm.
That's what we do.
Go Elk South.
Yeah, it was a great night for Jackson Brockett.
Unbelievable.
107 pitches.
Yeah.
12 K. It was a good no-hitter too, because some of them are crap.
Only 2 base runners.
Only 2 walks. Like there was an Edwin Jackson no-hitter.
What? Edwin Jackson. How many teams do you think? We'll Google later. How many?
12.
Shane, do you have a guess on how many teams Edwin Jackson played for?
Do you know who Edwin Jackson is?
10, 11, 12.
He doesn't know who Edwin Jackson is.
He hears Jackson. He thinks black actor. No, he's an athlete.
I mean, I thought Treat Williams. I thought black actor. So
would you stop it?
What, Samuel L. Jackson?
Okay.
Janet Jackson?
Bo Jackson?
Michael Jackson?
He only played for one NFL team because he only played 38 career games, Shano. So
Bo Jackson?
Unbelievable. In 20, we're not even to 20 minutes, and you got in Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders.
It's going to be a good day. If you didn't know, we're talking to Matt Rhule today at 9 a.m.
Did we get through the 8:43? Oh, you did say
I
Brian.
said Brian Edwards.
Okay.
You distracted me immediately, but I'm back on track here.
I just think you're funny.
We're going to get the whole lineup in the next 5 minutes.
Everybody deal with
all right, so can
2 out of 3 so far. So we got Brian Edwards at 8:43. We got the coach Matt Rhule at 9. He's going to be with us. And then at 9:43, we have Michael Bruntz, who so graciously moved because we got Coach Rhule.
Could you tell? I wasn't upset, but I wondered why Bruntz got a short segment.
Because he couldn't do 8.
Well, I got Shane's response, numbnuts.
Okay, I don't know. Just,
But I never want Bruntz to have a 3. Like 7:30, 7:43, unless we have to. But
yeah, I can't.
I realize daddy daycare is in full effect. And I know he needs time to become untraumatized from school drop-off. But I didn't realize 8 was not a thing for Brunsey.
I don't even know why, but it's technical, right?
I think we had asked him before. I think once.
Hey, he may be saying that today, Shane, if he can't get on the stream.
Yeah.
Forgive me. But hopefully there's something good there.
This dude said, don't worry, I don't miss. I was like, yeah, I'm getting this to Mayo. she'll make sure you're good.
That's why we got to get it to his handlers, That's got that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the point.
I think so.
You're trying to get to is where like people just like handle that stuff for you.
Yeah, it's amazing. The 80% is like wanting baseboards clean and in particular about food and looking a certain way.
And the other 20%.
And the other 20% is like it's a debacle.
Like, Ravi, can you send my email, please?
Yeah, or I go to the wrong stadium, or I leave my phone at home, or
Ravi can go pick up my cell phone.
I don't even know where my computer charger is. I think
To this day,
I think it's in Lincoln. But
did
yes,
Jess never get back?
well, technically, it was her day off, so
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't want to be like, "Hey, can you go to the?" Because it's not like an easy find. It's either at Gate 18 in our studio, like the network, or 6th floor in the stadium.
Okay, yeah.
So
like in the radio booth.
Yeah, they're not close together.
I mean, they're in the same building technically.
But I mean, if you go there, you're committing 30, 35 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's a whole thing.
So I'm like, I don't know.
To be fair,
if I'm off, do I not want to be around the stadium?
I get it. To be fair though, I also have that where, a lot of the time I'm pretty buttoned up and know what's going on. And then I also have your wife telling me how to walk to a football stadium that can be seen from the other side of the city.
My 20%.
And if Jay's listening, I appreciated it because I did not know where I was going.
Oh, let's not give her too much.
This is not me being a hater. Like, I needed the help.
She was a knockdown drag out yesterday, and I was like, "You're not that cool."
She like had to drop pins on me and stuff. Like I was like,
I didn't know you were that stew. That's a harsh word. I didn't.
I have not been.
Shane is uncomfortable. I know you can't even say stupid in our house, so I apologize. But really, though, a pin drop?
Well, so I mean, full disclosure, I just have not been. I've never driven down there by myself, so I did not know where I was going. I've always gone with people, so I had no idea.
Welcome to your mid-30s.
Yeah, I had no idea where I was going. I'm like following Siri, and it wants to take me to the place in the stadium where I'm not allowed to park.
Oh, she's a trip. Don't even mess with her.
I didn't know where I was going, Damon.
No, don't. Like, I don't know if Siri's good at that kind of stuff.
Not in situations like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't, man, let her be.
But I needed to get to the neighborhood of the stadium.
John Lennon, Shane.
Let it be.
Here.
And the rest of the Beatles.
I was like, let it be is the whole Beatles.
Dang, you remind me of Tim on Twitter. All of a sudden.
Well, actually, I don't think Steven's chimed in on the chat yet. But no, it was, I've never navigated that by myself at all because obviously I'm a grown adult. So I needed the help.
Welcome to adulthood.
So I appreciated it.
Yeah. So B-Mac got show karma,
which we appreciate. We like the little show bump.
Bro, how about, seriously though, the funniest thing, speaking of Bruntz at 9:43, sent me an all-timer.
Mm-hmm.
And my phone, I was prolonging the auto update.
Yeah.
So, my
at
phone,
a certain point, it forces you.
It just shut off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like a couple guys text. What time am I on again? Wow. So when
if you do the voice, you're not really hiding who's texting.
That was Bruntz. I was Bruntz. Did I give that away? No. So Bruntz, he texts and he goes, "At least you won't have to ask me about Caleb Clark this week." And I go, "Nope, I'm gonna weave it in."
We're gonna find a way
because he was good again against Creighton. So I'm gonna weave in Caleb Clark. I want Caleb Clark to play a vital role this year as a good left-hander on the bump.
Caleb Clark is your Dion. You're gonna weave him in no matter what.
Yeah, I'm Team Clarky.
Although
from what I heard, Canadians are such nice people. I was like, oh yeah, you mean the men?
Not in my experience. Coming up, we've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio. Creighton got some good news yesterday.
They did.
We'll get into that next.
English back in the box. Jackson Brockett has the sign. The junior lefty comes set. Kicks and deals the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike three. Jackson Brockett has the first 9-inning no-hitter for the Nebraska Cornhuskers since 1954, and he did it on his 12th strikeout. The night belongs to 33. Congratulations, Jackson Brockett. He's being mobbed by his teammates in between mound and home.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
English back in the box. Jackson Brockett has the sign. The junior lefty comes set. Kicks and deals the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike three. Jackson Brockett has the first 9-inning no-hitter for the Nebraska Cornhuskers since 1954, and he did it on his 12th strikeout. The night belongs to 33. Congratulations, Jackson Brockett. He's being mobbed by his teammates in between mound and home.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here on the Pillar Exterior stage at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, which I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out yesterday to support the tornado relief efforts over here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. All proceeds yesterday went to the Nebraska and Iowa Red Cross. So anybody that came in yesterday, really appreciate you taking your time to do that to support, help us support people in the community.
Thanks, everybody.
In case you were wondering, that Edwin Jackson no-hitter, 149 pitches, 8 walks.
Yeah.
That's a bad no-hitter. Not all no-hitters are created equally.
Yeah.
Jackson Brockett, 2 walks, 12 Ks, good no-hitter. 107 pitches, I'll take it.
I threw one as a 12-year-old that was the worst you'll ever see.
Oh, no, what'd you do?
I hit 2 guys.
I'll take it.
100%.
I mean, that's okay.
Dude, I felt like trash.
You didn't like.
I shouldn't have even. I mean,
you didn't like beating people.
Man, listen, I was sick as a dog. My mom cried as I was leaving. 7 o'clock, we're going to Iowa.
Yeah,
Urbandale. And for whatever the reason, my dad thinks it's a good idea to be tough. I was like, yeah. Never forget that. What a debacle.
I used to maybe throw at guys a little bit on purpose sometimes.
I already struggled to throw strikes.
You were trying to do nothing on purpose?
Dude, your boy was like crow hopping from the bump, right? It's like, yeah. Huffman used to catch, he caught me. And I just used to feel so bad. I'm like, God.
Good luck back there, bud.
I'm killing this poor guy. Throw hard, though.
That's half the battle. The other big local news yesterday, one Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Huge.
Returning to, he is tall. He's like 7'1", big guy.
We got jokes today.
He is returning to Creighton.
Can I have that sandwich?
There's like half left if you want to go for it.
It's tempting.
Every
day. Every day.
I'm gonna start buying 2, and I'm just gonna leave one right here.
Fudge, don't do it. Although I went with Johnny the Pig's recommendation.
Yeah.
And I used mason jar lids to do the boys' egg sandwiches 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Caleb goes, this McDonald's thing is a hit. And of course, Mike, it was like, tastes the same, Caleb. Tastes the same. Yeah, all right. No nuts.
Micah, like always the contrarian. Is that?
I thought the mason jars was a good idea. Although next time I got to spray them down.
Yeah, so
they're not
stick.
Exactly non-stick.
Not a non-stick. It's a mason jar lid. You got to do a little work on your own there.
Wow. All right, back to Kalkbrenner, jerk.
Right.
God, I can't stand this guy.
I mean, you can't just use a mason jar lid and be like, it's non-stick. What happened?
You know what I want to give you?
What? ... Well, be careful. I'm going to cryptically tweet about it if you do. ... Some people are so passive aggressive with their texts.
Stop.
Not talking about anybody in particular, obviously. But some people who I host a morning radio show with.
Some people want it all.
Is that Alicia?
Where's Alex when I need him? I need to go to the bullpen.
Sindelar, you got
I need somebody with a similar sense of humor to bail me out.
Bring in the righty. No, Ryan Kalkbrenner returning to the Creighton Blue Jays. Big deal for them. All of a sudden makes their prospects next year look dramatically improved.
I wonder what would have happened. Just if he would have announced earlier.
Oh, in terms of the transfers and guys that were in.
Because immediately, and I mean, obviously, some things behind the scenes, but I'm like, I wonder what would have happened after your meltdown over Pops Isaac yesterday.
I wouldn't have called that a meltdown.
It was a little excessive.
My meltdown off air was way more aggressive than my meltdown on air.
I was like, are you serious right now? I'm going to have to go to your room. I seriously wanted to send you to your room.
You're not my dad. No, I'm not a fan of the acquisition, but
I made a snarky comment yesterday in reference to North's 4x1 team.
Yeah.
This, and I quote, nobody's beating those North boys. Did you see the Jones? I'm like, welcome to 2024. Get out. I felt like you should go to your room though. That was a little much.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
Okay, but what a weird random hill to die on. Like, what if it works? Like, why have to go back and get that after he has success?
If he's successful, just be like, hey, I was wrong. Okay. I don't have to go back and get anything.
You're a child.
I don't have to go revisionist history and be like, well, actually, I was a fan of the Papa Isaacs acquisition.
Is this different than Steven or
yeah,
no?
It's a different well, actually. I don't have to do that. I can be like, yeah, I missed. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Because it happens.
It's a big deal for them. You get a defensive player of the year. You get I mean efficiency points. You just plug him in.
Yeah, you don't have to change anything. He makes everybody better. He makes the acquisition of Isaacs make more sense because now you've got some rim protection for a couple of undersized guards that can struggle at times.
Although Neal has length. He's 6'6".
No, but I mean with Ashworth and Isaacs, your backcourt is going to struggle with certain matchups defensively, and having Kalkbrenner back there.
So you play your 3 of your 4 horsemen.
The freshman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see Larry Johnson and Jemiah Neal at the same time and just see what happens.
Chaos.
It's
a lot of athleticism.
A lot of length and athleticism out there.
Go Black guys.
Throw Jason Green in at the 4. Frederick King at the 5.
Shane, can you feel
it's the 80% black lineup? Let's go.
Can you feel uncomfortable in Ravi? He's usually the one dishing it out.
There's no I don't think they have a black point guard, so that's going to be hard to.
Which, by the way, T-Mac said he didn't realize you could eat steak any other way than well done until he got to Nebraska. I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's totally a thing.
Yeah, no, I
still hear people call it blood, and it's not blood. You like that thing bleeding? It's not even blood.
It was just one lick on an ankle.
Exactly.
I don't want to.
Listen, you know who's not eating a steak? That guy.
He's not a steak guy?
I think he eats meat.
Is he a vegetarian?
Listen, we would be on the plane. This guy would eat alfalfa sprouts and like whole wheat.
This is a big deal.
I'm like, how is that remotely any good?
It's probably not.
It's very difficult sometimes for me to watch Nebraska football.
I can't imagine him eating a steak.
Is he just like a food as fuel guy? Like
I don't know like what the diet. I mean, he wasn't like he was cool.
Yeah.
But it's not like, hey man, what are you eating today? You know, like, I didn't get that vibe. Hey, there's a little reverence.
There's a little bit more of a distance.
Yeah, now guys can like
slap
a coach on the butt and be like, hey, let's go get him today. Dude, I watched Jamari Butler punch Coach Rhule in the chest. I'm like,
were you okay? This is
I don't know if the only people I saw the only people I saw do that to Coach Osborne, Kevin Raymakers, Jason Peter, Christian Peter. Those are the guys that like, you know, sometimes they would take his hat or rub his head. And I'm like,
well, the Peter brothers were a little bit, they were a little out there.
And as was Raymakers.
Yeah.
Oof. And I'm like, you can do that?
You're like, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, listen. Hey,
was it almost like your dad? Like, is that how, like how there's almost
kind of
fear is probably not the right word. You said reverence. That's probably pretty close. Or it's just like, yeah, I'm not. There's lines that he probably wouldn't get mad at me, but I'm just not going there.
Not going to be the one. I'm just not going to be the one. But now it's like it's cool. It's like I mean, right? What we're talking about with Kalk. Yeah, the hugs, the embrace, like he and Matt. It's like,
him and Matt appear to be very close.
Is
like really close.
Yeah,
like genuinely.
And it's like it's interesting. I had a talk with a parent yesterday about the ability to talk to a coach and how he was raised in dealing with coaches versus what people do now. I mean, sometimes now people sit behind a bench and just like yell at the coach, right? It's times have changed, but Creighton got better in a hurry.
They got a lot better. Their prospects for next season got a lot better, and we'll see on Pop Isaacs. I don't know. I don't know.
Top 20 program being top 20.
Hey, we like it. Coming up next, we'll wrap up hour number 1.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back as we wrap up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we are brought to you by our friends at the Omaha Supernovas. They are back in town a week from today at the CHI Health Center. That's May 9th. That is their final home match of the season. Let's pack that place out. CHI Health Center, 7 p.m. on Thursday, May 9th. Go to supernovas.com for tickets, for merch. You can follow along on the couple of road games they've got between now and then as well. That's supernovas.com for tickets. DB.
Ravi.
So you're trying to convince me over here.
Why not Hoiberg is alleging that I say you're mean to me too much.
Oh, I mean, I am mean to you.
He's a nice guy, too.
I don't know him.
I think he's being sarcastic.
I mean, I'm being sarcastic
if you don't knock it off.
Who, me?
No, Shane.
Oh. You really do got to be careful, Shane.
I'm trying to convince you that what?
You're trying to convince me that the natural sciences are cooler than physics, and that's not true. I like physics.
It's 100% true.
No, I'm a big physics guy.
You need to hang out with Cole from the radio network.
Okay.
He's a black hole, speed of light.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
We talked about bending time one day.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a thing.
No, it is a real thing.
Well, not like Flash.
No, but it's a real thing.
That wouldn't be my superpower, but I would worry about fracturing time.
Gravity bends.
Flash
space-time
is the
continuum.
best.
That's a real thing.
That's the best superpower.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
That's
he is.
not even close.
Yeah, it is.
You're out of your mind.
You could do anything and everything. If you had speed, you could do anything and everything tons faster than what it would be that you're doing it now.
Incredible insight. If you had speed, you could do things faster.
You could. I'm just saying, you could run the work and be there in seconds instead of driving.
What if I preferred?
That's the one thing you'd use it. That's the first thing that came to your mind.
Look how fast I could
be at work.
I could do everything over on the
normal
board
people
here.
would be like, "Man, I could rob a bank and never get caught." Shane's talking about going to work.
I'm not working ever again. Shane's like, but look how fast I could get to work.
Shane, you're so good. You're just a wholesome.
You know what's
young
funny
man.
is
I don't know why you're not married.
I think Shane might be a little particular to live with. That's my guess.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
I'm not even
guessing.
Not even going to give you his response to me talking about Jackson Brockett last night. I'm like, there's no more Shane response than the one he gave me.
I was just being nice.
No, Shane, I appreciate you.
Jackson Brockett sounds like a country singer.
He sounds like a guy that answered the dinner bell in a much-needed situation and has Nebraska firmly sitting with a 20 RPI.
I might just be
Warren Nolan.
I think I might just be thinking of Jackson Brown and that they sound similar, but he sounds like he should
I think you're on the country music thing that's been going on the last couple of weeks or days.
I don't like country music. I don't know if you know that about me. I'm not a fan.
I don't know if we've ever had this conversation. We've had a lot of Christian music talk.
Yeah, I'll do Johnny Cash. Like I'll do some old school stuff if you want to consider that country. I'll do Johnny Cash.
What do you mean if I wanted to? I'm not the barometer.
Well, you're the only one I'm talking to here. So,
wow. I agree with you. Why not Hoiberg?
so mean to you.
I agree. Our stream is a trip.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy those guys.
They're either they brought their sense of humor, but they pick up on.
Oh yeah, they get the show. I appreciate it.
They pick up on the snark vibe.
I did a lot of work and research for comments or for content yesterday. We haven't got to any of it yet, but we can now if you'd like.
Well, I told you I thought the rundown was malarkey.
Yeah, you did. You did.
There's not a chance we're pulling this off.
No, but I also did the work because I know at some point over the next 3 months before football season starts that we will use this. It might not be till July, but at some point I'm going to be trying to fill out a lineup.
I feel like you're taking a shot.
No, this is what the show is, right? Like we don't get to the lineup much, and that's okay. But
is malarkey like myriad?
They both start with an M, if that's what you mean.
Hey, does your brother wonder why you can't read the words that he texts you?
He probably does it on purpose.
He did say myriad. What did he say? It was a myriad of missed calls?
Myriad of BS calls.
Okay. It was. Hockey, Rob, I'm telling you, you stay with me long enough. You're going to be in the deal. We're going to increase your bandwidth. It's like,
all right, we'll see what we can do.
I'm going to be like the fiber optics equivalent. I'm going to make it a little more efficient.
Did you see? There's this dude that.
Are you throwing me a curveball?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me see. All right.
There's this dude. This is the real thing that just happened, or at least TikTok told me it was. There's a guy, a scientist, who figured out how to increase the capacity of already existing fiber optics cables to increase internet speeds like infinitely.
I'm telling you, it was probably Cole. It's probably my producer.
It was.
What was his name?
I don't know. This was like a national story. He looked like a giant nerd, so I think it was real. He had like the whole look. He looked like that guy. I would trust that guy to fix my computer.
Okay.
And he wasn't Indian, so.
It's only funny because that was my next question.
I know it was. I'm cutting you off.
Gosh, we're awful.
But no, so this
poor Bill and Chris.
This dude, he it was like an internal solution. So you don't even have to lay more fiber or anything. Everything that's pre-existing, he can just increase the capacity of, because there's a lot of inefficiencies within the fiber. It's
Do
incredible.
they fix your grass?
After they do that?
Yeah.
Not well.
Like, do they go get sod? Do
They get
drop
that,
you off sod?
it's the like light green stuff. It's not real sod. Like, it's not the, but
Does it work?
Kind of. It's crappy grass, but it
Shane,
grows
find
something back.
Tim in Colorado and see if that's a thing.
I don't know if so this was the city. I don't know when, because they had to dig something up in my yard a couple years ago. I don't know if
my mom's terrified that they're going to come digging, and she's like, "Well, I hope they fix my grass." Dude, her yard is immaculate.
Really?
Oh, it's sick.
A
It is
leader.
absolutely sick.
I try and keep mine so that it doesn't ruin the value of my house. That's my main goal for my yard.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
I know those people.
I just don't care.
Are you minimalist?
It's flickering.
No, only there's a difference between minimalist and apathy. I have a lot of apathy for my yard. I don't care about it
I
at
don't
all.
understand that.
I just don't care.
We need to talk.
I mean, we talk a lot.
Well, like what else? What else do you vibe with?
What do you mean?
You don't cook.
Nope.
You don't you don't care about you can't use tools. Like, what other stereotypical men things do you vibe with aside from sports?
I like sports. I do like sports.
You're a caveman through and through. You think bench is like the most important thing in America.
Oh, I love benching so much. I miss it every day. I think about it a lot. Actually,
you can't even vibe with the yard.
No, I don't get down with it is a necessary evil.
Oh my gosh.
It's
you need something.
Sports is my thing. Dive all the way in. We're just diving in. Man, we're not getting to anything.
All right, go ahead.
I don't think we have time now.
Wasn't pretty.
Did you not hear Shane's open? Do you know what you can get done in 2 minutes and 51 seconds?
Shane's got more. Never mind.
I love when he announces the open. That's how you know he's done something pretty stellar.
Guys,
Just trying to have a little bit of fun.
Open's coming.
Only time he produces during the 3 hours. It's like
That's fine.
Shane, it was a fantastic open.
He's gonna
I'll get after it.
He's gonna
I'll
crush
get
the
after it pretty
open,
quickly.
and then he's gonna leave his mic on during a commercial break. It's fine.
I want you to be proud.
Thank God for Avery.
I know,
dummy.
No, so we'll probably get in. We'll carry this over into the
Just
next.
giving people a little behind the scenes. That's all.
Yeah, nobody wants that. That's how we all get fired, Shane.
I do
Selfish.
need to get better at making sausage, though. So maybe people do want to know how it's made. I do.
I have no interest in how sausage is made at all.
Yeah, fennel reeks.
I just want to.
I gotta stop. We could never talk sports.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Because I was getting ready to get into fennel, and I'm still mad at Johnny the Pig because I had some questions with my vacuum sealer. You gotta know his personality. He gave me a very snarky.
Oh, he's
answer.
super snarky.
And I was like,
I'm familiar with his work on Twitter.
I was like, if I could fix it, I would.
I think I
tried to use it because
yeah,
I had some spare chicken that we got, and I wanted to vacuum seal it, and it's still not like I want it.
What
and
chicken?
it's sweet. It's the one that came with the sous vide, and
yeah.
No, I'm like, I think it's broken.
Help me.
Okay, stop. I'm not Steven.
No, we've got the 8:00 section open. You can give us a call if you want. 888-638-4876. If you need DB to teach you how to sous vide some things, or
vacuum seal.
Oh, you were talking about sous vide too.
Well, it's the one that came with the kit for the sous vide.
Okay, I don't know that sous videing is actually a proper term, but we're gonna go with it. But we are gonna get into.
If you knew how to cook, you'd know what I'm talking about.
Nah,
idiot.
I made a statement last week about by 2026.
I let that ride.
I think, you're like, all right, we're marking it down. That Nebraska would make the college football playoff. And I wanted to see how crazy of a statement I actually made because I think it's true. I believe it. But I was like, okay, let's see how much better they would have to get for that to happen. So I dove in a little bit. And
I'm curious.
I got
we'll
some
get
numbers.
to it. We call it a tease. I'm curious to see what your game mark was to give them a chance.
In terms of wins?
Yeah.
Well, we will get to that and more. I think it's more attainable than people realize. I think based on my research. And by that,
well, actually,
I just mean Googling stuff. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports
God
Radio.
bless Al Gore.
Coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Remember, using your seatbelt saves lives and prevents injuries only if it is properly worn. Make it click. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. You're leaning in like you want to say something. What's up?
No, Shane, can you read Timothy's comment? Timothy says,
Mhm.
I've heard this before. I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe we need some more fiber optics. Actually, I don't think this is a fiber optics issue. There's a big issue with the volume on the radio broadcast.
Mhm.
Needs
That was a while
serious
ago.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I know it was 7:15. Did we fix it?
As far as I know. I mean, he hasn't said anything since then, but that
Maybe he just doesn't want to be a constant complainer.
I mean,
a
I've
negative
adjusted
Nelly.
it. I've adjusted
A
it
negative
multiple,
Nancy, if you
multiple
will.
times, and I really do appreciate people putting that in the comments because it does help. So
And we
It lets
can't-
you know.
and we
It
can't
lets
hear
we
it.
can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear it on the radio.
you guys hear one feed, I hear a different feed, and there's like 2 other feeds, so there's like 4 feeds, and I can't obviously hear all 4 or whatever. So
Shane, you're the best. I'm gonna bring you some more lunch meat. Okay.
All right, so
Hey, by the way, how long did you finish it?
that lunch meat,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
How long did it last?
I didn't last for. I mean, I was eating one or two a day. I mean, the packages, it was like 1 package per sandwich. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. Let me
I
know.
figured that kind of lunch meat, I figured you probably wouldn't want to have it sitting in the fridge open. Like once you open the package up, you better go all in.
Shane's
Better get it done.
Shane
Better eat
sandwich
the whole
talk.
darn thing.
What are the odds you have Ziploc bags in your house?
Oh, there's a lot of odds of that.
That's what you put your Cheez-Its in, right?
No, I just leave them in the thing and just wrap
He
it
just
up.
leaves the box open
I just no, I don't.
Yeah,
leave the
he
box.
gets kicked
like
out.
like an animal. He just digs into that thing like a raccoon and then just leaves it open. So I made a statement last week.
Yep.
But nonetheless, thank you, Timothy, for the comment there.
Tim's just looking out.
Shane Sandwich Talk brought to you by the NDOT.
Timothy.
I'm going to keep going. Last week, I made a comment how I thought Nebraska makes the college football playoff by 2026. Then the next 3 years, I guess, at that point. 2024, 25. That's 3 years, 3 seasons.
Officially logged on to the Homer Network.
You
want to come work with us?
I do.
On the radio
That'd
network?
be lovely. And then I got to thinking, okay, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's 12 teams going to be in there by 2026. Maybe they expand a little more because who knows what they're doing, but at least 12, right? And I look at the standings pretty frequently, and I go, there's some teams at 12 that aren't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. I mean, obviously Nebraska's a long way from that. I don't want to be like, hey, they were the best 3-9 team in the country 2 years ago. Whatever. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is, I think you only have to get to 9 wins regular season to be in the conversation. And here's why I think that. I'm not just pulling that number out of thin air. In the last 10 years, I went back the entire playoff era. The only years in which a 9-win team, and then this isn't all 9-win teams, but there was at least one 9-win team in every top 14 in every year except 2021. I excluded 2020 because those numbers don't mean anything. The records were all over the place, right? So I excluded that one. But in every year from 2014 to 2023, the only full season that did not have a 9-win team in the top 14 was 2021. Now we move that to the top 12.
Was that COVID?
No, I left out COVID year.
Okay.
I left out the COVID year.
I don't know why. I don't know when that was.
2020. Because every year since then, like time has been a flat circle. I have no idea how long. It's been somehow 4 years.
Okay.
And it doesn't make so I get it. No. But I left out the COVID year because the records were all over the place with the number of games people played. In the top 12, it is every year except 2021 and 2023 that has had a 9-win team in the top 12. That's after the regular season. So this isn't. So you get to 9 regular season wins in a conference like the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to have a pretty good shot of being in the neighborhood of where you need to be.
This is going to sound stupid, but I have to. I'm going to say this out loud. You play 12 regular season games, right?
Yeah.
So that puts you at 9-3,
which is not crazy.
And this is at the end of the season before
conference championship, like regular
this
season.
This is the
only.
day. I'm just trying to get my mind around
100%.
the data. So this is end of the regular season before heading into a potential conference championship game.
Yep.
Okay.
Every year, but 2021 and 2023, a 9-win team has been in the top 12. Often it's multiple 9-win teams in the top 12. So 9's kind of the number I'm looking at and go, okay, if you get to 9, you're at least in the conversation, right? And in 2023, a 9-win team was number 13. It was LSU. They were 9-3. They were the 13th team. They would have been the first team out. And I went by college football playoff rankings, not polls.
Yeah, well, that's good because that's ultimately what's going to matter.
Right. Yeah. So I was like, AP poll doesn't matter, whatever. I mean, it's college football playoff. I'm going to try and get as accurate as possible here. If you get to 9 wins, you're going to be in this thing. Like, you're going to be in the neighborhood if you get to 9 wins. And so when I say, okay, I think Nebraska can be a 9-win team by 2026, people don't bristle up, right? People would expect that, I think.
Yeah.
If Nebraska hasn't won 9 games by 2026, I think people would be disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well,
with the trajectory that we think it's on.
I mean, if we're being honest, you hear 8s and 9s this year.
I've said 8 and 9 this year.
Yeah, I let you get me last year. That's not happening.
Yeah, I know.
Again this year.
I know.
You bumped me 2 wins.
I'm going to try and Jedi mind trick you again.
I started with 5 and 7.
Yeah, and I got you to 7 and 5.
And by the end, a month and a half later, I said 7 and 5. And I knew they couldn't move the ball. I was so mad at that.
Yeah, that's on me. That's totally on me.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's not.
Oh, we're gonna see what I can do.
No.
I like to bully you a little bit. We're gonna see if we can get you to 8.
I said from the jump. I was like, how are they like this?
You're like 5 and 7. They can't score. They can't move the ball. 5 and 7.
I'm like, Ravi, they may not beat Colorado. Oh, they're beating Colorado. Hey, who they got on their right? They're beating Colorado. Ravi, how do we? They're not beating Colorado.
Yeah.
Hey, DB, what's your final prediction? 7 and 5. And I remember so Husker X's and O's goes, I'll never forget this. My memory. He's like, wow, we're going +2. Like, how'd we get you to 7? I was like, that idiot sitting next to me. Maybe I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking.
What you meant.
So, okay, so this season will be in the books with however many wins.
Yep.
So year 2 of hopefully healthy quarterback play, you're like, okay.
Healthy quarterback play.
Eight's the minimum going forward. Outside chance at 9.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that's far fetched. I just want you to realize what you're saying out loud is they're going to darn near double the wins.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've said this last year. I think with even below average quarterback play, as opposed to horrifying quarterback play that they got last
7.
year, they're easily at 7, if not more. Last year.
So the conversation, and we're not going to get into probably the minutia with Coach Rhule, because I want to talk football, but I don't really want to talk football.
I want to talk.
You do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So having said that, the margin of error for this team is going to be different than it was a year ago. Okay, because let's operate. Because I agree with you. I'm gonna say this quiet. I know the mic suck. Let's say you're right. Okay, let's assume you're right.
We should assume I'm right. I agree.
I think the standard changes. It's not linear to this year because you're operating under the guys that, let's just say, the defense is equal and special teams break even. I don't know. You can't get me there.
Can't get you where?
That even on the defensive standpoint and special teams is what it was last year, which wasn't great. I can't make that assumption because I think defensively, how is there not regression?
So I've baked regression into the model here. I'm glad you asked.
You baked it in. This ought to be good.
I did. Okay, so last year
you've been around me too long.
So
what would Numbnut say as I present this argument to him? Did you do my voice? Oh, Ravi.
Well, DB. No, I did because I agree with you on this. Where I don't know that. I think we talked with Suits about this yesterday. I think
which was we probably need to revisit that.
I think the defense will look different next year than it did last year, and so what that actually means in terms of statistics and effectiveness and whatever, I think there's a lot of potential variance there on what it actually looks like. So I went last year. I just went points per game because that's the end of the day. That's what matters. Points per game. Last year, Nebraska gave up just over 18 points per game defensively, which was good for 16th in the country. I reeled it all the way back to if they could be a top 40 scoring defense, that would put them at about 22 points per game.
All right.
Which
I
think
I like the way you're this is okay.
Which I think is a reasonable expectation for a defensive coordinator and a lot of defensive pieces we like.
Mm-hmm.
Top 40 defense, I think, is super reasonable. Don't necessarily need to replicate what we saw last year. Don't need to be top 20. Top 40 defense, I think, is a reasonable ask from this team. Now, the offense is where it gets a little tricky, right? Because I think you can see dramatic improvement just by having more functional quarterback play.
What if you just don't turn the ball over?
Right. How many more points do you get just from that? Because last year, they scored 18 points per game. They were minus 0.3 plus minus on the season on their averages. If you could crack top 50 offense, which is not even top third in the country, you're at about 30 points per game. Is that a doable number?
Another 12 per game. You're okay. On the surface, I would say yes.
Yeah,
but you have to cut your turnovers down by 1.5 per game.
100%, right? 100%.
Listen, what I'm telling you though, that's a big number.
It is
roughly 1.5 turnovers per game, because that's 18 right there,
and that basically breaks you even for the year.
All things being equal.
Yes. Last year, 18 more would have left you with +1, right?
Let's just say you cut it down 1 per game. 12 less turnovers.
I think you can get pretty close.
I think you can do that.
Okay.
I think you can do that.
So let's say a top 50 offense, which I don't think is shooting super high, puts you at about 30 points per game. So now your point differential on the season's about +8. Okay, well, where does that put you? What does +8 mean to you, right?
26 points per game. +8 from last year?
+8 from my projected next year, right?
Okay.
So if you're 30 points per game on offense,
I got
22 on defense, you're +8, right? So where would +8 get you in historically? Last year, +8's not good enough to get you in the playoff, okay? The lowest team last year that was on the back end of the playoffs, so I've got numbers 10 through 16, teams that were in contention for the playoff. The worst team there was 10.2. That was Missouri. They were 12th they would have been 12th in the playoff last year.
Can I ask you something and see if they're on there? Where was LSU?
LSU was really interesting. They were +17.7 because their offense was so good, but they had by far the worst defense.
Okay. So you know why I asked that. Okay.
Yeah, defense was atrocious.
God,
they were giving up 28 points a game.
You do know me.
But let me ask you that, or let me show you this. To get to 8 to 9 wins, so the teams that were in the top 25 that had 8 or 9 wins, you had multiple teams in this neighborhood.
How many?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were 10.3 or less.
Okay, give me the program names.
Oklahoma State was 0.6. That's an outlier.
Okay. Because they're the lowest?
+0.6 was by far the lowest.
Okay.
They gave up they were basically even offensive defense. The next one, NC State, +6.
Okay.
You could be NC State next year.
Yeah.
Tennessee, +9.8. Almost exactly the numbers I'm talking about.
Could certainly be Tennessee.
They scored 32 a game. They gave up 22 a game, basically. Tennessee's doable. Clemson.
So's Missouri.
Missouri's very doable. Clemson, 29.8 points per game, giving up 19.9. In the neighborhood. I think doable. Now, listen, I get Clemson's recruiting class and talent is whatever, but for actual on-field results.
I'm just surprised that that's as close as it is.
And
because
then
I thought they could be able to get out of bed last year and be better offensively than they were the previous year. Right? You got Riley, you got Klubnik. I thought they would be a little more dominant defensively. I was surprised at Clemson.
They weren't a top 50 offense last year.
Okay.
They were just outside the top 50. And then Oregon State, 10.3, 32 points a game, gave up about 21.5.
You may not have this off the top. What's Oregon State's turnover margin?
I don't have that off the top.
I'm gonna guess.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And
just
then,
because of the way they played. And he's a really good coach.
Jonathan Smith, terrific coach. for reference, I put Iowa on here too because they're a huge outlier. Their point spread was only plus 2.2, but obviously they won 10 games last year, right? So I put them on there just for point of reference. But you can see there's a pretty wide variance. But you get to plus 8 between scoring offense, scoring defense.
So this is why I'm afraid, because I've done this in my head a couple of years in a row and used Iowa as a frame of reference because it's obviously one of the programs I know the most about, like the inner workings and philosophy. Remember now, they're elite.
Yes.
In 2 of the 3 phases.
Yes.
Of the game.
Absolutely.
They are way, way below average in 1. Like they're not even. It's not even. I mean, it's awful, right? How good does that make them in those other 2 categories to get to 10? I just want you to think about that for a second. That's why I'm not comfortable using them as I want to do kind of what they do,
right?
Philosophically, but you'll look back over time statistically, and it will be one of the more incredible accomplishments.
They're consistently an outlier, which is why it's why I removed them from the comparison.
Yeah, like I just don't. So now I'm like, you can't really use like.
I was actually surprised that Oklahoma State's margin was smaller than Iowa's. I was expecting Iowa to have the smallest margin for teams in this discussion. I was shocked that Okie State was worse than them. But that's why I have Iowa on here just for reference. I didn't use them in the comparisons because
there's just no way.
It's not replicable to me. What they do at that level to win that many games consistently
there's just no way.
Is not replicable. Yeah. And so I didn't find any value in putting something on there.
Because then you would have to start assigning values, which is kind of what I want to talk to Coach Rhule about. You'd have to start in assigning values to intangibles, like just sheer belief, just sheer buying into. Well, this is just how we play, and we embrace it. We accept it. We know that going out every week, this is what we have to do. No big deal.
I think
like you have to be at an incredible point as
you do
a university to embrace that.
But can I also say, like, this is not hating on Iowa. They've been better than Nebraska. I get it, right? Can I also say there's a little bit of unnecessary stubbornness there in the sense of, or maybe it's not by choice, because if your offense was just like a little bit better, you'd be a national championship contender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe they don't think they can do that without sacrificing some of the other stuff.
Well, it's not like I don't think they want to go out and get good players.
Yeah, so that's why I said maybe it's not a choice. Maybe they just haven't been able to go get those guys. But there does seem to be an almost defiance about, and maybe that's just how they come off publicly.
No, but do you know what I wonder? Because this is a real thing. I think for some college football programs, especially in the Midwest, it is very, 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 very difficult to be good both offensively and defensively. You give up. It just is, because your style of play in the Big Ten, if you're this prolific or high flying or spread them out.
So can I pause you there for a second?
Hang on.
Okay.
I'm not saying it has to be a certain style to be prolific on offense. It has just looked that way in college football.
Yeah.
Right?
Until like Michigan, basically.
And you certainly wouldn't call them prolific. You would just call them efficient.
Right, but that's a good offense.
Oh, 100%.
So that's what I mean. Like, you can be good on both sides. It may not be sexy on both sides.
I still think yeah, because I think they're an outlier. You had 2 wide receivers get drafted in the top 3 rounds, and your quarterback threw 22 touchdowns. Hey, you're not going to do that often.
So let me ask you this though, because I think you guys
are you listening to what I'm telling you?
No, I am, but I'm making.
And this year, Loveland's going to get drafted as a tight end spot. He's fantastic, and you're going to throw. I mean, are they going to throw 22 touchdowns this year?
I don't know. Probably, I would guess no. Probably.
So I'm not comfortable using them either.
Well, I mean, I'm not comfortable using them because they just won a national championship and Nebraska's not there yet, right? But I think it's kind of how I would describe Creighton's goals, right? I describe them as wanting to be Villanova. Villanova was obviously several steps ahead back in 2016, 2018.
But we have proven metrics that work in basketball that give you a chance to be in the hunt.
Yes.
Top 40 offensive efficiency,
Top 25,
top 25 defensive.
Yes. But in terms of the way they ran their program, the way they acquired players, the way they went about their business, I thought was replicable by Creighton, but they had several steps to go to get to that level of what Villanova was doing. That's kind of how I view Nebraska and Michigan. I think Nebraska can philosophically replicate what Michigan's doing and get to 8 or 9 wins. And we don't even have to talk about a national championship yet because Nebraska's made drastic improvement, and then they start making those extra steps to be where Michigan was, right? Because 4 years ago, Michigan wasn't where Michigan was.
Let me ask you something. What's the most controllable of the variables that you think keeps Nebraska from being good? I have an answer.
I don't know if this is right.
What do you think the thing is that they could control the most?
Turnovers.
100%.
That's the thing, especially the way some of the turnovers happened last year was the most in their control.
And where?
Yeah, the most in their control, I think. And, okay, so Husker X's and O's chimes in here. ESPN FPI values turnovers as a 4-point swing.
100, yeah.
So if you go 18 turnovers less a game times 4, gets you to about 6 points per game right there.
Okay, so I'm with you. This is where data, I like it as a starting point.
Right.
But now we have to get into the reality of
Sure.
it. Okay, so how confident are you?
Mm-hmm.
How confident are you that Nebraska can break? Remember, one time since 16, and it was not even a full 1 in the plus column.
Yep, it was just even.
How confident are you that they can change that number to a positive integer? Because that will let that right there.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that right there will give you a starting point for how you think this team can function in the conference. And we haven't even got to talent yet.
100%. I think.
Remember, once in the last 7 years. That's why I don't think Coach Rhule. It was funny when he said it because of his delivery, but he's not joking. I just expect don't have the ball on the carpet.
I would say 50-50. Now you tell me
that better be your discussion. That better be your starting point to get to this elusive 9 wins.
For sure. This year, I think it's 50-50. Next year, I think a lot higher than that.
Okay.
Because I have faith in what Coach Rhule's doing and what he's teaching, and that he's just not going to allow that to continue to be a problem.
Because, that's been the most. You can talk about how bad the offense was with 3 quarterbacks, whatever.
If you just hold on to the football.
Just take care of the ball.
Yeah. That becomes a whole different conversation. We'll continue this conversation coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And I got to remind you to get out to the War Horse Sportsbook, either at the casino in Lincoln or at Horseman's Park in Omaha, because it's the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. Live bets, straight bets, parlays, props, whatever you can think of. You can place bets on nearly every major sporting event at War Horse Sportsbook. I got to get over there this weekend, do a little Kentucky Derby.
Shane, what time's Big A this week?
He is tomorrow at 8:43.
Tomorrow Friday already?
Tomorrow is Friday already. So we'll get out there and we will, I'll get out there at least. I'm going to find a horse. Maybe I might have to Facebook message your mom and be like, hey, tell me about the horses.
So I'm taking her to Costco yesterday. We're in the parking lot, and I don't like for her to wait while I'm loading the groceries up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, get in the car, whatever. And she'll inevitably stood there. I said, hey, I'm going to start the car. Get in the car. And I'm stubborn, so I'm not going to put any groceries in the car until she goes to sit down.
Yeah.
I don't want her waiting. She feels like she's mom. So I get in the car, and she finally gets in the car, and it took me a little bit to compartmentalize the stuff. And I was like, what are you doing? she's like scrolling on her phone. I don't think she's on the internet, but maybe she is. And she goes, Baffert's out. I mean, that's different. She said, I'm listen, if I'm lying, I'm dying.
I love it.
She's Baffert's out. I go, yes, yeah, he's cheating for quite a while. Like, this is kind of warranted.
Consequences.
And she goes, I know, but usually his horses have been so good to me. I'm gonna have to kind of figure some things out. I was like, oh my God. Of all the things that I thought you were in here thinking, Bob Baffert wasn't
Not
one
on
of
the
them.
list.
I was like, what are we doing?
So I may have to hit up Mama Benning and see what my plays are. But whatever you end up doing, make sure you get out to Warhorse Sportsbook in Lincoln or at Horseman's Park in Omaha. You got any questions? Get to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for a full list of details and house rules. That's Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory. Speaking of cheaters, you want to do Ryan Garcia?
Oh my goodness. I'm not surprised, but I am surprised.
Okay, elaborate.
Surprise, surprise.
Because I knew, like, to get down to where he needed to get. Okay, I understood. I knew it was going to be a grind, but I thought with the rehydration clause this time, he may be okay.
He was not okay.
He was not okay.
He comes in overweight, about 3 pounds, not even really that close.
Relatively speaking, he's not.
Yeah,
that's not.
I know 3 pounds doesn't sound like much to just normal
Regular people.
But 3 pounds overweight in a boxing match is a lot. You didn't come close.
Yeah.
Most of the time when people miss, it's by less than a pound. And then we find out yesterday that the tests that he took both day of and day before his match with Haney tested positive for a substance called ostarine. I don't know if you're familiar with ostarine, DB.
I am.
It's a SARM. That's a strategic and what is it? The androgen receptor modulator or modifier.
Androgen.
So it's a pretty serious performance enhancer. He goes on Twitter yesterday with a bottle of ashwagandha, which is a.
Do you know I take that?
Yeah, it's like a natural like testosterone booster. It's a natural. Like,
I joked about that a couple weeks ago off air. I go, well, I always want to call it ashwagandha, but I feel like that's flat. Again, and I say it out loud as if it's any different than when I think it. And I probably should have just kept that to myself. But I always say when I leave all the pills in the morning, I was like, hey, does anybody want any ashwagandha? And I was like,
you touched it.
Probably not funny. But you know who told me about ashwagandha?
Who?
Vers.
Yeah, it's an over-the-counter natural supplement that I promise you they're not slipping SARMs into. I can guarantee it. I promise.
Yeah.
Because SARMs are only legal to be sold as a research chemical. Now, people take them because people take things that they shouldn't take. But it is not something you're going to accidentally ingest from ashwagandha. And if it had been his testosterone came back a little high, that's a plausible explanation for ashwagandha. Okay? It's a natural testosterone booster. He came back with a SARM, which do not occur naturally. Those are 100% chemically produced. And he also came back with a metabolite of a synthetic testosterone. Now, that one they can't totally prove was in his system.
Yeah, I would love to have that.
But between the two,
but that's what my turmeric, cayenne, and
between the two, I gotta feel like maybe it wasn't the ashwagandha big guy.
Yeah, but so and here's the deal, and I was paying attention to Red, and he helps train Bud, and I listen to what some guys that I trust in the boxing community say, and I get it. Like, Veda is going to come under scrutiny, right? That's the voluntary anti-doping agency. And they've had some mishaps. Full disclosure, like they have not been lock, stock, but they are the only real doping agency that actually catches fighters.
Yes.
Right. So, and I trying to explain this concept and to read labs, like everybody can understand what's going on with reading lab. Like some of us, like myself, can barely read. So having these conversations with people in the boxing community, can be a little bit fans, I should say.
Yes. Yeah.
Can be a little bit tough because it is. I think it's complicated.
It is super complicated if you don't understand it.
And I think these guys constantly skirt.
Yes, you almost have to, right?
Like they operate right on the fringe.
Well, that's your job. If you're the trainer, if you're the boxer, whatever, you have to go.
How close can I get?
You have to go right up to the edge without falling over, right? So I get it. I will say, SARMs, nowhere near the edge, buddy.
Yeah.
Those are firmly off the cliff.
Yep.
Ashwagandha, probably what you're talking about, getting close to the edge. Hey, I need a natural testosterone boost. I'm trying to do this. I got to make sure I don't boost it too high so it flags on a test. Anything that's in the SARM, anabolic steroid, anything like that, you're well off the edge.
Do you get into the consistent, like the concentration? Are you willing to split hairs over that?
Not in this instance. Like if it's a high testosterone issue, I will get into the margins. I'll get into all that stuff. If you're not getting non-naturally occurring substance, once you get a strictly chemical substance found in there, assuming the samples didn't get switched or anything, which we've seen happen, but assuming samples didn't get switched or tainted or whatever, if you're talking about something that just does not occur naturally, I'm going to have a hard time giving you a whole lot of benefit of the doubt there.
Because the thing about the weird thing about the metabolite is it also what was in his system also contains a muscle mass component.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
once you cross over into that world, it's like,
well, especially because you can. I mean, people do this all the time. It's how they beat tests. You take something, you build the muscle you want, you cycle off of it so you don't test positive, but you still got most of the benefits of. That's why the concentrations I'm not willing to give a whole lot of leeway on.
And it's also the main reason why I asked you.
Yeah, because like, listen, I was a big part of the powerlifting, bodybuilding, like meathead community. I understand you can cycle off those things and not have it show up, and you still got a ton of benefit out of it, right? That's how it is. I can't play with concentrations with you. The only thing I'm willing to consider is testosterone, because some people are naturally higher than others, and there are things you can take.
Some are naturally lower.
Yes.
And so they like to play catch up.
And you can take things that naturally will boost your testosterone without taking a synthetic. That's not the case. If you pop for a SARM, you took something, right? Maybe you didn't know, maybe your trainer gave you something that they shouldn't have, whatever, but we're in a totally different ballpark here, because that is not a naturally occurring deal.
Does that I mean, and you knew, because he runs his mouth anyway. You knew Devin was going to go all in.
Oh yeah. What do you get? I'm sorry that he disrespected the sport and our match and whatever, and the whole 9 yards there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'd be mad too if I got. And listen, maybe he gets beat up anyway. Maybe Garcia just beats the tar out of him anyway. But then we go back. Let's rewind it all the way back. We're like, oh, how is Garcia able to perform after all the nonsense he was doing? Well, chemicals help.
Yes, to the latter part.
Pharmaceuticals help.
But I don't correlate the antics pre-fight
to the results. That's fine.
I don't, because I think the antics were very much
calculated.
Yes.
Maybe.
Intentional.
Maybe.
And I mean, the cheating part was, I think that's in addition to, not, well, because I could act so crazy because I did this.
It could be. I don't know. I'm just saying, they help you perform in less than ideal circumstances.
Well, look at the befores when he fought Tank, no rehydration clause, and when he fought Haney, rehydration.
Coming up next, we got Brian Edwards.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
The way they're using the cream cheese to butter the bagels.
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
We're wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by our guy, Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. B, what's going on, man? Brian, are you with us? Are you muted?
I can see his lips moving. Is he muted?
Paging Dr. Edwards. Like Anthony Edwards off of ER? No?
Anthony Edwards like the Timberwolves. He's been nails, too. He had the one little slip up last week. It was just a button click. Now he's looking at us like, okay, what am I doing? Let me check my stuff. Okay.
Let me clear my throat.
Shane, how are we doing with
We look good on this end. It's not muted. It's got levels going on the input level there.
I feel awful because it's like panic time because when you're in the short window segment,
like at the disco,
it's like at the room 515. No, that's a different song.
No, Panic at the Disco, not regular disco.
It says that his mic is muted on his end.
Oh, maybe your mic is muted, B.
On the actual stream, maybe not physically.
There we go. That should be good.
All right, talk to me, B. Nope,
got nothing.
Shane, see if we can Come back to him.
Yeah, let's kick him out and try again.
Okay.
Come back, Shane. Come back.
We don't need that. It's fine.
I never even saw that movie in its entirety. I just know that.
I don't even know what movie that is.
Well, it's called Shane.
Yep, never seen it.
It's like black and white. It's I don't.
Oh, come on, Shane.
Why is it always gotta be a black and white thing?
I don't because I don't like gray. That's why.
Which is ironic because most black and white movies. A lot of gray.
I thought it was a color movie.
Jim in
color.
He's been sitting on that one.
Jim in Minnesota.
You feel empowered to say that word, Shane? Huh?
Yeah, what's Shane just dropping colored over here? Come
Why
on,
can't
man.
I say movie?
I didn't hear the ED. Did you hear the ED?
I didn't say
And
that. I just said
he
movie.
does know a lot about that too. I'm sorry, what?
I
He
just
knows a
said
lot about
movie.
movies.
Yeah, Mr. Ed. Pardon?
I just said
the horse?
movie. That's all I
Would
said.
that show up in your system?
They
It could.
don't test for that though.
Well, it could be elevated.
Yeah, but they don't test for that.
Ratio.
I don't believe so.
Ratio.
Yeah. Jim in Minnesota sends us a picture of his ashwagandha. He goes, "Crap, should I stop using this too?" As long as you don't have a fight coming up, I think you're okay.
I take it.
No, it's fine. It's a natural supplement. It's fine. It's not going to put osteoid in your system. That was my whole point.
No, I know what you're saying.
It's not.
You're scaring me.
No, okay. So
I'm not gonna get tested for anything. I don't think.
So
except sanity.
Let's hope not.
Dude, you should see me with the Rorschach test and nails.
We're gonna go with Brian on the phone here.
All right.
Is he here?
He will be in a second.
Okay.
I saved myself. I wonder what B was doing. He has been lights out.
It's funny. When they do these things with I was just taking this and they put steroids in my protein powder. Like I feel like one of those kids when you're like at Dare as a kid and they're like, there's gonna be people offering you drugs around every corner. You know what's never happened? No one's ever offered me free drugs.
Yeah.
No one's ever slipped steroids in my protein powder. I would be thrilled. Like over the moon. It was like, hey,
be you there?
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's a little protein
I
and some testosterone.
StreamYard kept telling me the recorder. I'd never seen that little light. But anyway, I'm here now with them.
Oh, Ravi's just making fun of Ryan Garcia's attempt to show us ashwagandha like it was a real thing.
So I want to know how many of those millions he's already spent and how many they're going to get taken away.
Oh, I know. So he probably blew through one that night and the next morning.
Oof. Yeah, that looked like at least a $2 to $3 million week long bender.
Dude, it was unreal.
Right.
Yeah, and you knew Devin Haney wasn't going to miss the opportunity to go all in. Woof.
Oh, of course not. Absolutely.
Hey, so did you not enjoy Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez? Wasn't that something?
Okay. So I saw De La Hoya's little, intro and then, put some respect on my, name. And then it cut off. And I was going to watch the rest of it, but I didn't get there. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to go watch it right after.
Hey, Canelo went all in. All in.
Good.
Called
Good.
him out.
I can't wait.
Called him out a name, threatened him, and the funny thing is I'm just glad to see Oscar own it, right? Like that dude was chasing and fighting off demons for a long time, trying to pretend like he was okay, and he clearly wasn't.
Well, I don't know that he is now. Look who his girlfriend is.
No, I get it. Listen, my man has some foibles. Okay. He's
got Vegas Daves left him.
Wow. Wow. You give Munguia a puncher's chance?
I don't know enough, Damon, to have a great opinion there. No, but I don't think anybody can beat Alvarez these days.
Interesting. All right. Let's talk NBA.
B, let's get into the NBA a little bit. You've got 76ers Knicks tonight and Pacers Bucks tonight. Where's your mind telling us to go there?
I mean, first off, my goodness, Tyrese Maxey. I mean, that was some Reggie Miller stuff at MSG the other night. I think the momentum's with Philly. Bogdanovich being out for the Knicks, on top of Randall is, a pretty big loss.
I agree.
Yeah, and so with when Embiid's been in uniform, Sixers 21-6 straight up, 19-8 against the spread at home, and just all the momentum. I think Maxey will be nasty tonight. I think Embiid will be better than he was the other night. I mean, I know he had a triple double, but he was not himself the other night, and that the crowd will be an absolute madhouse. I like the Sixers -3.
You've also got the Bucks and Pacers. The Bucks super short-handed. The Pacers, they were able to get the Pacers in Game 5, though.
How is this 3-2?
Yeah, what are you looking at with the Pacers, an 8.5-point favorite at home, and you got to feel like they probably want to close this thing out tonight before things get a little squirrely.
Yeah, but Indiana can close it out, and we can still cover. So I got to go Milwaukee here. They're obviously more experienced. Let's remember, Portis got ejected early in game, game 4. And they're not going to lay down for these guys. And I know they had Lillard most of the game when they covered in game 2, but, they could have won that game at Indiana, lost by 3 in overtime, and, easily covered. And I don't know if y'all saw, and I'm not implying he's not going to play, but Tyrese Halliburton did pop up on the injury report as questionable with back issues. Look, I think he'll play, but I got to go with the veteran bunch catching 8.
All right, let's go to UFC so I can get your Atlanta Falcons take. Pantoja was pretty humble, didn't get into the fanfare and the hoopla on air last couple weeks ago, but he's ready to go. I thought he'd be a bigger fave. This is kind of an interesting line. It's chalky, but -190. What do you think about Pantoja?
Yeah, I'm going to go with him inside the distance at +165. I do think it's inexpensive, Damon. I thought he would be more like -250, but I still don't like, laying, much more than -140 or -150. And he's got 5 rounds to do his thing. So at home with the crowd, inside the distance, Pantoja +165. I was looking for somebody to pair him with, but like Paella.
You can't trust Aldo. He's only like +115.
Right. I mean, Aldo's been out a while, so I don't want to do that. And the other favorites that I like barely help the parlay because they're like -600. So let's just go Pantoja inside the distance +165.
All right, B, I got to ask you, I know you're a big Falcons fan. They had one of the most interesting moves in the draft last week. Just how did a week later, how are you processing both paying Kirk Cousins and drafting in the top 10 Michael Penix?
I'm not, and it's nothing against. I'm not processing it. But
you just shut down. You're like, it's not happening. I don't believe it.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So it's not like look, I like Penix. It's nothing against Penix, but he's played 6 seasons of college football. He's not that quarterback that you're going to bring in and let him sit for 2 or 3 years. And when did you fall in love with him? Did you fall in love with him in the pre-draft process, before 6 weeks ago, and you invested $100 million guaranteed on Cousins? No matter how it works out, we could have been better because you've got so much of your salary cap invested into Cousins. And if Cousins is healthy and he's good, well, why did we take the best defensive player in the draft when our defense had sucked for 15 years? It's just insane.
Well,
it's insane.
B, I hope it works out for you.
I was afraid to ask, but that was a lot more mild than I thought we would get, B.
Well, that's why we waited a week. That's why we didn't bring you on Friday. B, we appreciate it as always. They can find you at Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, MajorWager.com. Make sure you go check out B and all his work. We appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
That's Brian Edwards, our Vegas Insider. Coming up next, the moment you've all been waiting for, Coach Matt Rhule will join us here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Go. Let me start this. It's another episode of Benning Bites. Check us out on Spotify, podcast, YouTube. My good friend. Check out. I'm sorry. He's always like, it was kind of funny, you know. And that's what I want you people to do. I want you to think for yourself.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by the head coach of your Nebraska Cornhuskers, Matt Rhule. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. DB's here. He's just having some technical issues.
Listen, I'm so nervous about you being in the Mountain Time Zone. I screwed up my own computer, Coach. So you see me enough.
I'm Pacific. I didn't know. I knew it. I shouldn't say I didn't know it. I'll get yelled at by my mom. But Arizona flips back and forth. So I'm Pacific right now. So that's why I texted you last night. Like, hey, what time is this again? Because the conversions and all that. And so.
You got to be careful with that daylight savings time, Coach. It'll mess with you.
It's got me, man.
Wait, so you're Pacific? Why did I think yours? Were you laughing at me? Or no, you didn't know, so you couldn't make fun of me. I kept saying you're Mountain.
No, I didn't know I was Mountain until I got here, and also I was like, man, we're back 2 hours. So I don't know, bro. I'm just trying to bang out things that one thing at a time. I'm Kira Mayo, as you know, Mayo. She made sure I was ready and everything was hooked up.
She's unbelievable.
But bro, just for the record, this one, I downloaded an app to be able to do this. This is without my 11 or 8-year-old daughter doing it for me. This is I hope you guys appreciate this.
So, Coach, I think that I'm DB's version of your 11-year-old daughter because anytime there's a technology issue,
I don't know what I'm doing either. That's why I never give you a hard time. I don't know anything either.
He just hands me the phone. It's like, Ravi, please fix it.
I was doing fine with my flip phone. I was doing fine before my phone. So I'm good. I'm cool now.
But before we get started, because you were talking about kids, Zoe says now she wants bologna dumpings, and I blame you. It's bologna's dumplings. So.
Hey, you know what? You got expensive taste, man. I love
it. Coach, let's hop in here. Obviously, you got a lot done in the spring period. I think a lot of people were pleased with what they saw during the spring game on Saturday. But was there anything that you were hoping to accomplish throughout the spring that you kind of want to go back and get to work on in the fall? Some things that you maybe didn't quite get where you wanted to on?
I look at everything kind of in its own self. So I thought spring, we accomplished a lot of things. There's still things, though, that I'm, borderline obsessed with. We need to find an elite punt return game. We can't just let people pin the field against us. We need to master the 4-man rush. Everything can't be a blitz. So there's lots of things that while I know we made progress on, I'll have to see them. I'll have to see them in the fall. And just as importantly, a lot of guys on defense who play a lot of football for us, didn't play in all those scrimmages. They practiced day by day against us, but not in the scrimmages. So. I'm anxious to get those guys back out there and get rolling.
It's interesting. I listen to you you just never you're never off, right? And so I know it's pretty demanding. I was listening to you talk about Thomas the other day, and you were describing loyalty, and he's never satisfied. And I couldn't help but to think, and listening to you and your affinity for him, he sounds a lot like how I've come to know you over the last couple of years, right? Hard charger, never really satisfied, always on the gas. When you talk about him, do you see some of yourself or his character traits? Is that why you guys have such a good connection like that?
100%. I think it was early in the press conference, the first spring, I said, Thomas is wired just like me. He's really just like Christian McCaffrey. There's some people who want, and this is fine, but they want to be told, they're doing well all the time, and they want to know what they're doing well. There's other people, I look at football like, hey, let's eliminate the defects. Let's get rid of the things we don't do well. And then all you're left with is things that you do well. That can be kind of painstaking because you're always talking about the negative things, but it's what I believe. And it's what Thomas does. And so, he's obsessed with it. In the day and age where a lot of guys want to talk about NIL, all he wants to talk about is getting to the NFL. I love a guy who's like, hey, I miss the days of hey, coach, why am I not getting the ball more? Give me that. I want that. Not, hey, my marketing person wants me to get this. And I get it. I'm fine with it. But I love guys that are wired like Thomas is wired, right? And the NIL is fine. I'm just not saying anything negative. I'm just saying Thomas is wired. He wants to play and he wants to make plays. And so His nature is very much like mine, and I do want to say this: when I mentioned loyalty, loyalty comes in all different shapes. Like Chief Borders left us. Chief was loyal. Chief stayed through the spring. He graduated. He did a tremendous job. As he left my office, he was like, man, because he knows my daughter. He's her favorite player. He was like, tell my sister I love her. Like, he's doing the next step in his life. He's not quitting us. He's moving to the next thing. There's some guys, that might come in and just leave you for more money and you're not planning on it. Chief did everything right. He played the spring game, played his heart out in the spring game. So he showed loyalty. Thomas shows loyalty. And that's why I think we have a chance to be a pretty good team, because those players are bringing that. That was long. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No, Coach, I appreciate that. And, I find myself thinking a lot, because it seems like you have a lot of guys that are wired that way on your team, whether it was Chief, whether it's Thomas. Seems like Heinrich Harburg's kind of cut out of that same mold. We just heard Ethan Piper at the lead stuff, kind of having that same mentality. How do you find that in guys? Is that something you are specifically looking for when you're bringing guys in, either from high school or transfers, or is that something that you think you can help foster once they get here as a coaching staff?
That's a beautiful question. Let me say this. When I got here, there was a lot of it here.
Mm.
So that's a credit to the previous staff. It's a credit to Scott, Nikki, and all those guys. There was a lot of those types of guys here. And I think what happens in recruiting is sometimes you get so tempted to go chase, the talent only, that you bypass a lot of this. You talk yourself out of it. Oh, well, we'll get him to do this and we'll get him to do that. You have to, in my mind, put enough players that are wired this way in the locker room that it becomes the norm.
Mm.
That if you're not like, I say all the time, functional people look dysfunctional to dysfunctional people. Like, dysfunctional people look at normal people and say, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
And so, you put enough functional people, and I didn't quite appreciate the volume of the roster when I got here. I was used to having 105, 110, 115 guys. You could really, and that's not that I didn't love them. I was a walk-on. You could really pour into. What I found is if you put enough Grant Taggies and Cooper Hausmans and Isaac Dickies and on and on and on, guys not on scholarship in the locker room who bleed Nebraska, and who bleed hard work, it just carries over to everybody else. Like Vincent Shavers showed up, and his lifting partner was Isaac Dickey. And the jumps that Vincent made in the offseason were due to him, but were also due to Isaac. And Isaac, hey, this is how we do this. This is how we're doing it. And they became great friends. So I think putting the right people in the locker room and being at Nebraska, you're surrounded by the right people.
Coach, I've watched you a long time now and talked to you quite a bit. How you strike me as this person that can, like, either you thrive, you like to, or it's just natural to function at a high level in chaos, right? Like you it's high intensity and you expect guys to perform. Is it modeled? How has it been so effective as you kind of got the culture to come around emotionally, where it's like, you don't make excuses, we don't whine, I hear you say, figure out a way to get it done. We'll figure it out. And you don't really bat an eye at what isn't going on. It's how do you function with what is going on?
Well, you got to hear me behind the scenes, though, Damon. I'm ripping Susan and Sean and everybody else. Why don't we have this? No. It was Coach Paterno. That was the way we did everything with Joe. I would watch him. Whereas I hear about Coach Osborne and how, like, calm and stately he was. Coach Paterno would, put so much pressure on you, and it was almost like a rite of passage. Once you kind of got through that and proved that you could handle that, he moved on and went on to the next young player. And, I think now in today's day and age where the players are always, everything they do is being evaluated and seen and really filmed and taped and watched, right? They're so used to, like, hey, is this good or bad? And they want to know what they're going to do so they can do it right, because they're scared to mess it up, because they don't want to let you down, because they don't want to be a failure. Like, they go from like 1 to, I'm going to retire homeless, in 5 minutes in their brain. And so, to me, putting a lot of chaos around them and getting them comfortable in the chaos and getting them just to understand, hey, like, stop, think. I have no problem. I could walk in tomorrow and say, hey, you know what, guys, we're going to go to the run and shoot. Guys, we're going to go to the wishbone, and never bat an eye if that's what's best. And I think that like, that military, the OODA loop, in Orient, I'm not gonna embarrass myself, but, observe, orient, like all that stuff, like being in the moment and looking and saying, hey, what do we need to do right now? And then fixing it. I think that's really, really important. So, you've been at practice. I try to put people under a lot of pressure. I try to put coaches under a lot of pressure.
It's incredible.
You rarely see me, and probably last year with Heinrich a couple of times, that was probably too much. You rarely see, you don't see me ripping guys at halftime, throwing stuff. To me, you do that in the practice moments so that they're prepared for the game moments. In the game moments, you let them go thrive.
We're talking with Coach Matt Rhule. Coach, when you're talking about creating these opportunities for guys to overcome adversity, right? And when I think about that, you've talked about how important that is. You don't really know about a quarterback until he gets frustrated and what these guys look like when you start to put that pressure on them. But then I also think of this Malcolm Gladwell book that I read where it talks about, near misses versus remote misses, right? Where you put pressure on somebody and sometimes it makes them better and spurns them to greatness. And then some people crumble and it crushes their confidence on it. How do you thread that needle about giving guys opportunities to overcome adversity without kind of putting too much on them and crushing them?
Well, what Gladwell's talking about really is about, the expectation and expectation theory. Like, hey, and this is really what affects our guys. Like that analogy that you're bringing up is exactly what happened to us last year. So when the bombs are going off in the distance and you can hear them, you keep waiting for them to come closer to you. And it's that expectation that leaves you with trauma. When's it my time? When's it coming? When you're walking down the street and the bomb goes off right next to you, and then another bomb goes off right next to you, you realize that every day is a gift, and you're, hey, you almost become, elated. Like, hey, I can't be hurt. I'm meant to live. You've been through the worst, and so I think for our players, they've proven they've had all those bombs go off around them where it's like, hey, I can come back from adversity. I can handle it. But what happened to us last year was, as we were sitting there in games, it's almost in the fourth quarter, like from hardly everybody, right? Oh, is this going to happen again? What's happening? You have one bad play and everyone's like, oh my gosh, is this Iowa 2021 or is this Michigan 2022? It's that expectation that then takes away our energy, which then, it's all chemically, biologically related. It's like we start to then play to what we think is going to happen. So for me, I loved last year. I hated the record, but I loved what we learned from it, and I loved what we took from it. It's like, hey, we can survive it. Like, think about the year. You go 0-2, and then you win, basically at 5 out of 6, I guess, and then you go 0-4. You know what I'm saying? Or it's wild. So like, you had these stretches on the ends, and you had this time in the middle, and that didn't break you. Going 0-4 didn't break you. We're all still here. The guys everyone didn't transfer. You didn't die. Like, people still love you. So you know what? Let's not expect and wait for the worst to happen. Like those people that hear the bombs in the distance. Let's walk down the street and go take what we want. And that's where I see the team heading. How good we are to do that. We'll see. But I see us heading down the, enough's enough. And I'll never forget Ethan Piper said to me at the end of the year, he said, how the Israelites, they couldn't get to the promised land until the older generation had all died off. Pipe was like, a lot of us have been through a lot, Coach. And I can see now how having the young players in the program who don't remember these other games and don't remember that narrative, how they just are like, hey, we lost a close game, not, wow, we're cursed. So getting rid of and it goes back to Damon's last question, getting rid of the excuses, getting rid of the poor me, the victim mentality, getting rid of, hey, we're cursed, and just saying, catch the snap, block the punt, hit the in cut, don't throw a pick. They just do what you do and go win the game. And that to me is the next step for our team.
It's interesting. Those practices are super high intensity. You're right. And there's a ton of strain on your staff. I talk about it all the time. It's not only your coordinators and assistant coaches, the support staff. There's a modeled way. When you carry business like that, and it seems very natural for you, how much of that do you think is immediately trickled down to the players when they see other people function and hit curveballs on like a 2-0 dead red count, that they get it naturally too, just because it seems like that's how you just do business?
Yeah, I think you're trying to model performing under pressure, right? And you're trying to model doing hard things. I mean, like just somewhere along the way, like, you know, we had someone come in, they're like, hey, you know, if you make a kid run for doing something wrong, you know, now in the courts, it could be bullying. And I was like, my goodness, like, you know, so like the best parts of my life were at Penn State where, you know, I had to do really, really hard things. And that's why now, like when my son was born and they told me they weren't sure if he was going to make it through the day. And you know, Bryant now he's 19. Like I just kept saying like, all right, well, what's the next thing? They're like, well, we're going to go do this. Okay. What's the next thing? And like controlling your heart rate, being in the moment, dealing with what's happening, not getting emotional. Like I had to do that in that moment. And that goes back to my parents, but also goes back to my time at Penn State. So how do I get that done for our players? Well, you know, sitting there in games and losing and, you know, going over and shaking Coach Sanders' hand, even though they tell me not to. Putting pressure on the staff, putting pressure in recruiting, Avery Gossett, Keith Williams, Susan Elza. Like that sends a message that this is a caring, not coddling environment. And but people thrive in that. And I want our players to understand we're not doing this so you can survive it. We're doing this so you can thrive in it, so that you can be excited to be in a place that challenges you in every single way. And you know what? You're going to go out into life and you're absolutely going to destroy it. Like, you know, we had a bunch of guys no one drafted. That's the last time I'm going to let that happen. But those guys, some of those guys will make a team. Some of those guys will make a team. Oh, and a bunch of other guys went off into life, and they're going to dominate life because you've been in these high pressure environments. And now you're going to go somewhere where everyone's, you know, leaving work at 3:30 to go to happy hour, and you're going to stay there and make 5 more calls so that you can, you know, you can get 2 more leads, so you can make 1 more sale so that you can, you know, you can own the bar and they're going to happy hour at someday. You know, like that's the whole mentality. And I think it's fun that way. I don't want to go somewhere and be laid back. I want it to be like, I want it to be intense.
Well, and Coach, you haven't really shied away from the pressure either. I think you've said a lot of the quiet things out loud that Nebraska fans themselves are kind of afraid to say about, hey, we want to compete at the highest level again. That, you know, you said in your press conference on Saturday, hey, we're wanting to play for national championships. Like, good luck getting through 16 games with 1 quarterback, right? Where do you get the conviction in what you guys do as a staff to be able to say, yeah, we're not going to shy away from these are the things that we want to accomplish here, when even a lot of Nebraska fans aren't really comfortable saying it anymore?
Well, I think I can't talk about Nebraska fans, but I think what's happened sometimes is you lose touch of where you actually are. Like, we are not in the position right now, like where I'm saying, hey, we're going to go do this right now. You have to earn the right to be in the conversation. Mm-hmm. So, like, you have to win your first. You know, when was the last time Nebraska started off 1-0? 2019. Yeah. Like, I don't count. 2020 wasn't even. I don't count 2020. I don't know what the record was. I don't even look at it ever. But like, that was just such a hard year, right? But but it's been a long time since you started off 1-0. Think of it, 1-0. So let's start off 1-0. Okay, let's not get to the first week, and I think it's responsibility of everybody. Like, you know, you guys can do whatever you want, of course, but like, you know, don't let Damon be on there talking about, well, hey, we play Colorado next week. Let's see how they look. We get ready for Colorado. Like, that's not Nebraska. That's not Coach. That's not Coach. That on me. But I'm saying, like, think about it. So like when I got to Baylor, everyone was like, hey, we got to catch Texas and Oklahoma. I said, don't ever talk about Texas and Oklahoma in front of me. They are so far ahead of us. We have to catch Oklahoma State. We have to catch TCU. So, like, I want us to finish 3rd in recruiting. We can't recruit with Oklahoma. We don't have that brand. We don't have that budget. I want us to be 3rd in recruiting, 3rd in everything. And pretty soon, we passed TCU. We passed Oklahoma State. We passed them all. And then, you know what? Next thing you know, that same year, at the same time, just by being focused on the next step, we took 2 steps. We beat Texas. We took Oklahoma to overtime. And then 2 years later, I wasn't there. Those same group of kids won the whole thing. So what are the steps? But if you follow these steps, have a great spring, get the right roster together, improve the quarterback play. Okay, go 1-0. Okay, handle some success. What if we start winning a couple games and everyone's losing their mind? And, you know, I'll never forget Heinrich last year. I told him, I said, hey, you hear them cheering for you? Someday they won't. And that's not about our fan base. That's just about, that's about life. That's about life, right? And guess what I said to Dylan on Saturday? Hey, you heard them when they cheered when you came in? It's not always, and maybe it's in the NFL. It's not about our, please don't let that be about don't tweet that it's about our fans. That's about life, that you have to meet with triumph and disaster and treat those 2 imposters the same. Ooh. And so that's, you're going to have these high moments, these low moments. If we can get our program where we're just like, hey, we want to know. Okay, cool. Hey, okay, let's win the homecoming game. Hey, let's beat Iowa at Iowa. Let's beat Wisconsin at home. Was the last time we beat Wisconsin? 11 years. 11 times. So we have all these humble steps. But if we stay humble and focus on the steps, Ravi, my thing is then we can get to maybe be in the mix, and then we can be in the conversation. So I can talk about this as a goal and then be unbelievably focused on why is there a box in the hallway on the ground during recruiting? Like, how could we have that happen? And people look at me like I'm nuts, except for the people who have been in my staff for a while because they believe the same thing. Like, we're only going to win the national championship someday if we make sure that the recruiting path is clean and if we make sure that the players are on the – I don't know. It's probably a stupid way of looking at it, but it's how we look at it.
Hey, one of the things that I love about you is you like to dominate the state. You talked early about like the pulse and the heartbeat and what you want in the locker room. I was blown away. We've talked a lot about this in the media. You've got a youth camp coming up. It's sold out. You cross 72nd Street. It's important to you, but I won't forget the story you told me, the player that the camper that you meant that you came across and you were like, hey, do you remember me? And you were honest. You're like, no, not really. And he's like, no, I was in your third grade camp. Like, you made this thing happen in a couple of weeks, and people have tried to pull this off for 20 years and put Nebraska's stamp on it. Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, and I want to make sure I thank Abdul Muhammad. Even yesterday, we had some changes with location and some problems, and he just kept making things happen. I want to thank Keith Williams on our staff, who I said, hey, make the it's easy for me. I say, hey, put a group text with Keith and Abdul. Hey, I want to come to Omaha. I want to come to North Omaha. I want the kids that maybe won't be able to get to our camp, and we're going to come to them. And I'd like to do that other places in the state at some point. And I just said, no, you do all the work. And so Susan and Troy and Keith have done all the work. But it's important to me, man. It's so important to me. Last year we had our youth camp. And I think in 2 days, I took, I don't know, over 1,000 pictures with each kid. And I'm not like, you'll see me, people see me everywhere, like, but I don't love that. I don't love like taking a picture. I don't love getting on stage somewhere and singing. Like, I'm doing it all for the brand. I'm doing it all for Nebraska. I'm doing it all for like, hey, we have to be relevant. But I take all those pictures with those little kids, A, because I want them to have a nice experience, and B, I can't wait for the day. And Cooper Garrett's probably going to be the head coach, but I can't wait for the day a kid commits and they're posting a picture of coming to the youth camp with me when they were in third grade. Mm-hmm. And here they are. Or I don't like it when the kids come to tour the facility and they're wearing like an LSU football shirt. I'm like, that's my fault. I got to fix that. So I want all these kids. They're not all going to have a chance to go play football in Nebraska someday, but maybe they dream a little more about being a Husker football player, and maybe they make one better decision in their life, and maybe they go play youth football or youth basketball. I've seen my daughters so strongly impacted by Harper Murray, by Merritt Beeson, by Jazz Shelley, by Caitlin Clark. Like when they announced that Ice Cube was paying her $10 million to go play in that 3-on-3, I was like, put those iPads down and get your butts outside. that needs a retirement. But like I'm at the game before the spring game, and the women's basketball team's out there, and my daughter, like, she's like afraid to ask, and she walks over and gets a picture with them, and I'm like, man, like every kid in the state of Nebraska has to have the same experience with Nebraska football, and our kids are doing it. Elliot Brown, Gus is doing it. Elliot Brown runs his own camps, 7-on-7s. I have to do my part.
Coach, you want to take a quick break and do another 8 minutes, or you want to get rid of me?
I would love to talk to you and I love the vest game, by the way, right today. So I'm here.
I'll swap you my vest for one of your hoodies.
Done.
All right, we'll come right back for another quick segment with Coach Rhule. Appreciate you, Coach. We'll put you on standby.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Coach Rhule has been kind enough to join us for one more segment here. Coach, appreciate you sticking around with us. And I guess this is a terrible segue, but speaking of guys sticking around, you've had not a lot of attrition in the portal, obviously. You were able to keep Coach White when he had a lot of opportunities. And one of the things that you said that kind of keeps kicking around my brain here is when Tony decided to stay, you said, we rewarded him after he decided to stay. We didn't try and convince him to try and stay with a new contract. Why is that distinction so important to you?
Yeah, and to be fair, I would have paid.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think it wasn't one of those deals where like he wasn't out trying to leverage us. Is what I'm saying. Like he had legitimate people calling him, and you know he's going through this really for the first time at this level, right? And you know, and I'm trying to help him navigate the hey, I want you to go be a head coach, but I don't want you to be a head coach at a bad job, especially in today's day and age. Like, and but I don't want you to be a coordinator for someone else, you know, because they're convincing you that they'll either pay you more or and really for Tony it wasn't money. It was like, or they can help you become a head coach faster. So, and I just think Tony was the whole time was just so honest, was so transparent, was so expressive of, hey, I want to be here. Like, you know, Angela loves it here. The kids love it here. So it was kind of clear, like, okay, he's not going to go down, you know, he's not going to take one of these head or get one of these head coach, however it worked out. That's what I meant. Like, hey, he didn't come in and say, hey, I need this to stay or else I'm doing this. Right. I came to Arizona with him to this conference. And yesterday, you know, I made him deal with some of the, you know, as you're dealing with portal stuff, I made him, you know, hey, you know, you go talk and have this conversation. He got on, he kind of had this look on his face. And it was with Troy Dana too. And I said, hey, you sure you want to be a head coach number one? I I said, let's not get mad at the fellas, hey coach, I can get this money somewhere else, they'll try to, I'd like, maybe I need to go talk to 1890 about a new deal. I said, you did the same dang thing, bro. and I looked at Troy and I said, and when we win someday, I'm doing the same thing to you, Troy. I'm just here.
I know you did too. Like people may hear you laugh, but you're not playing.
Hey, you can march in that offense with a ring and get whatever you need, bud.
That's it. Troy, I'm happy that Tony's here.
So I always joke with you, and I always say, I just would not want to play cards with you. And it's not because you're competitive, because I know you're ultra competitive. I told people you probably actually thought you were going to be Compton in that race, but I wouldn't want to play cards with you because you just come across as having this gift of discernment, right? Like your radar is top shelf. And I'm like, this guy's, he's always sizing people up. How do you know, or is that the strength when it comes to, hey, go do your thing. You've earned it. This is a heck of a spot versus, okay, you can leave us if you want to, but I'm just telling you, that's not a good idea. How do you weigh the go get yours, you've earned it versus, hey, be careful. You're going to step in it.
Yeah.
You've navigated the portal like that since you've been here.
Yeah. Like, at first, I think going through the portal every year kind of helps you. Dealing with assistant coaches helps you. It's like everyone has a different road to go, but everyone has a different value as well. Right. There's some people hey, you want to go test the market as a coach and see, and I'm kind of like, okay, great. Hey, that'd be great. I can upgrade this position with someone. I'm very loyal, but if I can upgrade a young coach for another young coach, okay, great. I can do this. So my mind starts working. Some guys, their value's so high. I'm like, man, I can't lose Coop. Like, come on. Hey, Coop had a team come in this year and offer him almost twice what I pay him. I mean, it was ridiculous. Right. And he stayed with us for not a cent more. And so each person has different values to the program and to me. And so I think it's really important that we're very self-aware of what our value is. We can't walk in thinking, hey, I'm worth this. That's where people get in a lot of trouble. And all of a sudden they get way less. So I think taking the time when someone comes in as they get older to just listen to them, hear them, talk them through it, keeps you kind of even keel. Now, having a purpose far greater than just, hey, I want to win games and make money and like really wanting the players that play for me to be successful, really wanting the coaches that coach for me and the staff that I want them to be successful. I'm down here at this conference. I saw Joey McGuire yesterday, Garrett's father, who's the head coach of Texas Tech. And I'm so thrilled that he's having success he's having. And like, that makes me feel like, hey, maybe in some small way I did something. So I think taking all that and then looking at each person and being like, hey, this is what, if you're asking me, this is what I see your path as. I go back to the season with the Tamon Lynham. Tamon graduated. Tamon wanted, he had been a great character guy for us, special teams guy. He wanted to start. And I was like, all right, well, why don't you go into the portal, look and see if there's a place where you think you can go start, a place close to home. We'll make you a highlight film. I'll call anybody you want. And if you don't get what you think you want to get, then just come out of the portal and come back to the team. Now, a lot of coaches won't do that. They're like, now I'm not talking about, hey, I'm going to go in the portal, become a free agent, go around, look at money offers, and then come back and leverage you, coach. Well, I don't know if maybe I would do that. Depends on how good the guy is, right? If and I just think that's where you have to be really honest with guys. Like, hey guys, this is the NFL. This is life. Everybody has a different value. Don't hear me now. Don't ask or expect more than what your value actually is, or you'll be disappointed. Stay in that and then earn more value. And so when Mondo came to me and was like, hey, I'm thinking, when he went to Pitt, I was fired up for him because he graduated from Nebraska, gave his all to us, loyal to us. And I still text with him, when I'm allowed to. Hey, I love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, because he's a former player of mine. That to me is how you look at the staff and people. And that's not how we look at our own kids. Like, I'm sure you're going to handle things different with Caleb than maybe you do with Zoe, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I handle things different with Vivi than even Leona. And so trying to be equitable, but everything can't be equal, I guess.
Coach, I'm interested about what you're talking about, the coaching staff there, because you've got a history of like sticking with really young coaches, hiring guys that maybe haven't worked in the college game before. It almost seems like you enjoy coaching your coaches as much as you do coaching the players. Like, is that perception accurate? Because it seems like you get a lot of I guess, satisfaction out of, like you said, seeing those guys go off and succeed other places.
Yeah, I think I definitely like that part of it. I also need people that can handle the pace and the expectation level.
Yeah.
That can live the way that we want to live. And most importantly, that wake up every day saying, you know, I want these players to wake up someday and say my life's better because I was there. So I have to every day come in and try to, you know, pour into the lives of young people. And that's really a high school coach's mentality. Okay, that's my father. That's Garrett's father. That's why we were so close. I don't need superstars. I don't need mercenaries. I don't need, hey, I'm the third best recruiter on, you know, Rivals because I did this, and this. That's great if we did. I mean, Donovan got those kind of accolades last year. I'm saying I want coaches who are like, hey, that kid's a no-star recruit, and he ran a 10.6, and he's 6'2", and he can do this. Hey, I'm going to go get him and not worry about anything else other than the University of Nebraska in this roster. And so that to me is, you know, that was the hardest part in the NFL was the staff and the turnover that's almost expected. You think back to Nebraska's greatness, and you're talking about Coach Darlington. You're talking about Coach Tenneper. You're talking about Ron Brown. You're talking about these coaches that have been here forever. And there's a consistency that it brings to the roster. There's a consistency that it brings to the players. If all you ever do is fire a coach after a bad year, okay, you're telling the players, hey, when things get hard, you should leave because you're doing the same thing as the coach. Now, if the coach isn't doing his job, not working, I got no problems. You know, I got no problems. But guys that come in every single day and I see them fighting, scratching, clawing, like, you know, I'm just going to try to improve the roster around them. I'm trying to improve what I'm giving them. But I want that consistency. And I'll finish it by saying this: it's why I don't want 1,000 transfers. And you know, some of the kids got reported, like they came in somewhere in January and they tried out for the spring basically, and then the coaches sent them out somewhere else. Like what we're doing is wrong. And so I want consistency in relationships and stability. And I want people to say, if I go to Nebraska, it's going to be a great place. Like think about Heinrich. Like I know people are talking about other things. Mm-hmm. To think that young man went out there in that game after winning 5 games, heard the crowd roar for a freshman, cheered him on, patted his on his back, came in the next day and wasn't in the portal. You tell me any other quarterback in college football that would show how much they want to give to a university than Heinrich. And that's not Heinrich versus Danny. That's not Heinrich versus Dylan. That's all of them together. Like, you know what? There are 3 people trying to chase their dreams. And so I want to be around people like that. You know, whoever's going to play is going to play. Like, you know, I want to be around people like Heinrich. I want to be around people like Sat. Like Sat, you know, people would crush Sat to me last year. And I'm like,
I'm a big fan.
I'm like,
you know that.
If only you knew. I said to Damon one day, you know what it is, Ravi? It's like a guy gets stabbed on the subway in New York City, and a doctor is going home from work, runs over, he tries to sew him up and save his life, right? And he's under the dire circumstances. He's working like that, and he gets to the guy gets to New York Presbyterian. The doctor's like, these are terrible stitches. I mean, who did these? Yeah. You know, who did this? Like, judge us in year 3. You know, judge us in year 2. Judge us when we're in the operating room and we're, you know, we got all the utensils. Don't judge us in year 1. You know.
Oh, you always save the best for last, Coach. We appreciate you, man. Hopefully you enjoy the conference. Give Coach White, the staff, my best man in Scottsdale. I appreciate you getting up early with Pacific time.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
That's Coach Matt Rhule here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Coming up next, Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
The 2-2 guns it by English. No chance there. Bring up the leading Wildcat Day. He sends a short chopper over to second. Stokes floods it easily, and just like that, another 1-2-3 inning for Jackson Brockett.
Wrapping up the show here on a Thursday on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's Hurrdat Sports Radio, live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we're brought to you by a new friend, Durkin Designs. Durkin Designs is your one-stop shop for your backyard dreams, offering paver patios, retaining walls, water and fire features, lighting, cleanups, maintenance, mulch, trees, shrubs, perennials, whatever you can think of, they've got you covered. Durkin Designs offers free estimates and designs. Trusted professionals with over 50 years combined experience. Call 402-690-4998 or find them on Facebook at Durkin Designs. Joining us now is one Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7. Bruntsy, how are you this morning?
Not bad. How do I follow that up? It's like the Beatles just played a set, and they're like, this guy's going to come in here and play a couple songs on a washboard here.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Bruntz, I'm going to be honest with you, bud. I used all of my good questions on Coach. This is kind of on you. I need you to carry this thing, okay?
I'll do what I can.
At least you have a no-hitter to talk about. That helps.
He's something
true.
else,
We
though,
can
right?
talk about that.
Like he just it doesn't really matter what you ask him or how you ask it. He doesn't need a script. He just doesn't really blink.
No, he doesn't. And I mean that you got 40 minutes there of why I think he's been able to kind of communicate things so well, and I think when you can do that, you benefit, your team benefits, everybody's falling in the same direction, and frankly, I mean, the fans I think get what's going on now too. Like I think that helps.
All right, Brunsey, let's get to that no-hitter that Nebraska baseball had last night. Jackson Brockett, Elkhorn South guy. And, I made the distinction earlier today with DB that it was a good no-hitter, not one of those crappy no-hitters you see sometimes where, Edwin Jackson's walking 8-9 guys and throwing 200 pitches. Like it was a tight, solid no-hitter by Jackson Brockett.
107 pitches, 71 strikes, I think it was.
12 Ks.
And
Let's go. Two walks.
12 Ks, 10 ground ball outs. Like it was a very it was a very workmanlike no-hitter. And I have to say, pretty darn improbable. I mean, these what is it, 70 years or so since Nebraska last had an individual 9-inning no-hitter. And I don't know that I probably would have had Jackson Brockett on the bingo card to be the one to break that streak. So
yeah, there's been some pretty good starters since then.
But that feat belongs in the lore of, I don't know, of improbable things. Maybe the Northwestern Hail Mary.
Yeah.
It's up there. It may be one.
I mean, you think
when,
about
when
it.
did they tell him he was taking the bump? It was yesterday morning, right?
Yeah, I mean that was he was the option. I mean, they used 8 guys the night before, and
he'd done 5 innings.
You get into the game. I think if Nebraska probably was being honest, they probably would have taken 3 innings from Brockett. And yeah, I mean it's you got to remember the guy hasn't thrown more than 40 pitches this season. He's pitched 3 times since February. Like he basically had been a non-factor. Teams are hitting almost 500 off of him this year. I mean, it's just incredibly improbable that he was going to be the guy to do it, and just looked in complete control the whole time. And it wasn't like it was against just like a bunch of punching Judies either. I mean, this was a K-State lineup that was it's a top. Going into that game was a top 40 RPI team, a really good lineup that had, been pretty good this year, and he just really shut them down from the get-go. There really weren't any stressful moments in it for the most part. I mean, a guy barreled one up in the 9th, but other than that, it was pretty calm as far as those things go.
Bruntz, for all our hand-wringing and midweek talk, and, we got off the 5 or 6 week schneid of a midweek win. You wake up and it's like, let me go see what old Nolan's got. 20 for Nebraska's RPI. Much ado about nothing before, or hey, you know what? 2 things can be true at once. We had some concerns. We want to win the Big Ten, but you know what? We're top 20 RPI.
Yeah, I mean it can be both. I mean, I think the midweek concerns are legitimate. I mean, it's a discussion point for sure, and Nebraska hasn't until last night done much to change that. At the same time, I think people need to understand that with the way college baseball works, if you're able to schedule games early in the season against teams that are likely going to win a lot of games or be competitive in their own conferences, and you happen to win those games, it buys you a lot of leeway when you get into the back half of the season. The Big Ten is not great this year, and the last 10 games into the clubhouse for Nebraska, there's not much margin for error there, because I think that only one of the series is going to be a top 100 series. So you got to take care of your business. But for as much as Nebraska baseball over the last 15 years has struggled to get off the strong starts, they finally did this season. And you get rewarded for that. That's how RPI benefits teams that get off the strong starts. So, I think, you're still on the fringe of, host discussion conversation right now, in spite of, really kind of stubbing your toe in the midweeks over the last month. And, I think there's, have to feel pretty good about what their NCAA tournament chances at large are, just because they were able to do so much at the start of the season. And that's been something that's kind of eluded this program for a long time. It's always felt like they've been playing catch up a little bit. And that's one of the reasons that they didn't make the tournament last year. I mean, basically by the time April rolled around last year, you knew Nebraska was going to have to win the Big Ten tournament. Part of it was the midweek struggles, but a big part of it was they didn't take care of business early in the year. So, this team has set themselves up well, and they have an opportunity to play good baseball over the last 10 here.
Yeah, so the last 10 are going to be critical because now I'm thinking, if they get on a little bit of a heater, and they typically win weekend series, so this isn't a stretch in terms of them getting on a roll. Could you see them moving back into a position to host?
It's going to be tough.
Okay.
It's going to be real tough. I mean, you're going to have to get on a real heater, probably win some games in Omaha at the tournament for sure. And, not if you drop a game or two, you kind of have to drop the right game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the unfortunate part is that they were pretty set up to, take care of business and potentially have that host spot. But, it's just, with the way the schedule broke the last 3 weeks, it's just going to be tough. But, you win 9 of your last 10, you win 8 of your last 10, something like that. You might have a chance, just depending on how things kind of break around you. And, if other teams that were on your schedule kind of got hot too, we'll see. But, I as much as, the no-hitter and the history and everything last night, it also just felt like that was a game that team really kind of needed to win. That they needed something good to happen against a good team and kind of change the narrative for themselves a little bit. And we'll see if they can kind of run with that against Minnesota this weekend.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Bruntz, I'd be remiss with the last few minutes that we've got you here if I didn't ask you about the spring game. I know you were there rocking that, Oakland A's hat, and
he's something.
And I appreciate you staying strong with the Oakland boys out there. But
hey, they're showing some signs of life. What are they, 15 and 17, Brunsey?
They've got more wins than the San Francisco Giants, if anybody's counting at home. Also the Houston Astros, I believe.
That's all that matters.
And the Pittsburgh Pirates.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
As long as you have more than the Giants.
Who started out like 6-0, but unfortunately you got a colleague whose team's won 10 in a row and nobody's batted an eye because they're not even in first place yet.
I'm at the spring game on Saturday. A guy leans over the fence and tells me, he goes, "Hey, the Oakland A's suck." And I was like, well, yeah, I know.
I'm aware.
You're not hurting me. You can't hurt me.
Nothing like telling a realist, the realist of the realist, something he already knows.
I did like the
Ooh, burn.
Hands up. I don't care.
Well, now we have even less time left with you, but
Sorry.
No, you're okay. It's my fault. I brought up the A's. I wanted to ask if there was anything, obviously, everybody's talking about Dylan Raiola, the quarterback play, everything there. Was there something specific that stood out to you from the spring game, or something you felt like you could take away that's portable to the fall?
I mean, just the depth of weapons on offense, I think, was probably the biggest takeaway. I mean, it's obviously the conversation is about the quarterbacks and what that's going to look like, and how do you kind of make young quarterbacks successful. And I've been impressed with the way that they've kind of reformed and reshaped the amount and depth of talent that they had around them. Certainly the wide receiver position is a big part of that, but the tight end spot's a little bit deeper than maybe what I was expecting. I think there's a couple of those young guys that may not even be in the conversation, even though they probably could be. If in most normal years with the guys that they have there. Running back, we'll see, once Ramir Johnson and Gabe Irvin are back, what that kind of looks like. But, I mean, it seems like they've got enough playmakers to where you can kind of make things function and make it look good and pair kind of nicely with that defense. So that was, I think, probably the thing that I took away the most was if you can operate with efficiency, not turn the ball over, that's a group that I think can be pretty competitive and maybe win you a game or two in the Big Ten if you have to.
Hey, Brunsey, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. You don't say.
Brunsey, hell of a job following the Beatles with your banjo. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Mike.
Sounds good, guys.
That's Hurrdat Sports Radio. We'll be back tomorrow.
That's it. Thanks, guys. Thank you.